Ahoy, you tunic wearing treasure hunters. The winds be howling, decks be cracking, and the salt's not just in the meta. Because this week, we're diving headfirst into high seas. New cards, new chaos, and more plunder than a Katsu on turn zero. So grab your eye patch and your sideboard, because it's time to hoist the anchor and set sail on another flesh and blood voyage. Where the damage is deep and the puns run even deeper. Let's get cracking. We are talking high seas set review. I'm Will.
Man,
I'm Evan.
I'm Trevor.
And let's just jump right into it, fellas. So, this set review, we got a few rules, but if you guys want to listen to this, you're going to have our take on the cards that are coming out. We have a 5-point rating system. Does anyone want to cover what those 5 points are?
Yeah, it should be pretty standard, right? 5 is sort of the cream of the crop. 1 is nigh unplayable, and 3 is just like a card where you're happy. Well, maybe not so happy. You're okay if it's in your deck. And then 2 and 4 are just sort of in between those 3.
Okay. So 5 great cards, 4 is pretty good. Super good commons fit in this. 3s is your average cards. You'll have them. They'll fill in your deck. You won't be embarrassed by them. 2, below average. Mistakes were made. Now you have to fill your deck with anything but cracked bubble, which is a 1. All right, cracked bubble, the bare basics, the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. All right. So what we'll do is we'll read the cards, we'll give our little input on the cards, and then we'll go ahead and move to the next card. Now, although this is on the set 247 in high seas, we're going to cover the macro first. Evan, would you like to start us off reading it?
Yeah, macro is super important, and this one is Treasure Island. So this is essentially going to start on the field for both players. One of them, you both interact with the same landmark, and it is the first time a hero is attacked each turn, put a gold counter on this. Whenever you or an ally you control deals damage to an opposing hero, you remove that many gold counters from this, and they create that many gold equal to the amount of counters removed this way.
I mean, it's a macro. Chef's kiss. It's so much flavor in this one card. It's great for sealed. What do you guys think?
It makes it really interesting.
yeah,
Sure.
I think making sealed have its own mini game is makes it very fun.
Yeah, this is your primary way in sealed and draft to make gold. So definitely keep this in mind both in deck building and just while playing, because this is going to be sticking around the entire game.
Yep. And both players have access to it, so everyone knows that this card is starting from turn 0. All right. Now, we're going to go in the order of the set. So we'll start with the mechanologist and then move through the set as you see it. So if mech is not your vibe, jump ahead. I think the second hero of the set is
Necro.
Necromancer. And then the last one, of course, would be the Ranger. So if you want to go ahead and jump to that, I'll actually timestamp it below. So that way, for the first video ever, since this is special, we're going ahead and set up the time steps. So next one, Puffin. This is a pirate mech hero. It's action, tap, destroy a gold you control, create a golden cog token. The second time you crank each turn, draw a card. Well, what do you guys think about that ability?
So a couple things first. It's a new mechanic, so might be worthwhile to explain the tap mechanic. So if you've played games like Magic before, tapping works the same way in Magic as Flesh and Blood. You just turn something sideways and you cannot tap it anymore if it's already tapped, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of your turn, things untap, right? Magic is at the start of your turn, things untap. Flesh and Blood is at the end of your turn.
Yep. And to
Yeah.
go to Evan's
And
point, I'm sorry, Ning, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and so I believe in the set there are ways to untap a card so that you're able to use it again during the same turn. So I think those uh, cards or abilities that allow you to do that are probably going to be
Yeah.
considered relatively strong in this specific sealed environment.
One more
And
thing to mention. The golden cog token that it creates is just a mechanologist item that enters with a steam counter that you can crank to get an action point back. So it essentially lets you get one of your first crank for the turn.
Hmm. And crank the mechanic itself is as this enters the arena, you may remove a steam counter from it. If you do, you gain an action point.
Yeah, so Puffin's ability doesn't have go again. So, like, if you create the golden cog, your turn is over unless you do the crank. So you're required to crank. You're required to remove the steam counter in order to continue to your turn.
Good point. And to go to Evan's point, again, you can't double tap a character. Once it's tapped, its ability to use, you can't tap it again to and destroy another gold to create a golden cog token. It does not work that way. They've already explained that in the pre-release notes. So you can have, as Ning was saying, ways to untap it to tap it again multiple times. There is no summoning sickness, as the Magic the Gathering players say. You could put this into play, and there's some other mechanics where other cards will have this tap mechanic. You can use it right away. There is no summoning sickness. All right.
Yeah.
So
Overall, about Puffin in general, we've been explaining the rules, but for Puffin as a card, maybe we should talk about a bit. And I think her abilities are very strong. All card game players love drawing a card. So keep in mind, she can only create one cog at a time. So she does half the work for you, right? She creates a golden cog, so you get one crank. So you're going to have to find ways to get another ability to crank as well in order to get that card draw.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like how they balanced it because there is more thought that goes into creating your deck. You can't rely on the card draw, but if you do get it, you get rewarded for it. So, and this will make a lot of sense when you look at the weapons, look at the cards, part of the mech in this set. All right. Gents,
Yep.
anything else before we move on?
Nope. I think that's good.
First
Oh,
card.
can we go over her weapons?
Sure.
Yeah. This is the Cogworks Blunderbuss. This is action for 2 resources. You can tap to attack it. It swings for 2, and then also it has an ability for an instant tap a cog you control, and then this card's next attack gets go again. And I think this is kind of her bread and butter weapon in Limited. This is the one that you're most likely going to be building around. So you're going to be wanting to pay attention to how you can keep 2 resources around in a cog to have this have go again.
Just for comparison purposes, can we look at the other weapon as well, real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe for new players to know, 2 of these heroes, so both Marlynn, the Ranger, and Puffin have access to 2 different weapons. You can choose one, and yeah, so based on how you build your deck, you're going to want one or the other.
So this weapon is Spitfire. For an action point, you tap this and another cog you control, and a cog you control, and then you can attack for 2. And when it attacks, if you have an extra cog that has not been tapped yet, you can tap that cog, and then this will actually attack for 3 instead of 2. So I guess just to kind of get your guys' thoughts, in what situation would you use this weapon as opposed to the blunderbuss from earlier?
I think there's very niche scenarios where you would, personally, just as my initial idea. But I think like if you pulled something like cog in the machine, which we can go over later, but you're going to need an excess amount of cogs or else this isn't going to do anything. And getting cogs is usually a limited resource.
Yeah, I think right now with the weapons, since we're so new into the set, as we cover it, for those that are really interested in the class, you might have to go back and review it because we're reviewing these cards in really a vacuum, right? But sometimes the flesh and blood weapons and the hero power operates with the whole card pool. So for me, I'm looking at this and I see it's so kind of underrated, right? And even compared to the Spitfire, like why would you play Spitfire over the Cogworks Blunderbuss? Because I'm assuming that this is a Spitfire is an ender, like a turn ender. You do this, just do 3 damage, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, you would use this as an ender because you can't give this go again easily.
And you would have to, for Spitfire, tap 2 cogs you might control, which I think for the Met class, when we cover the cards, you will see it's okay to generate cogs, especially since the hero's ability lets you create a golden cog. But you would say there's some niche circumstances where you'd play the Cogworks over the Spitfire, but which one would you start with if you're not sure? What do you think is the higher value weapon here?
I think I said it the other way. I think you should play Cogworks over Spitfire.
Okay.
In like most scenarios.
I would assume with Spitfire, you're probably either I don't know. Would you say that you'd be playing towards more of a fatigue matchup where you're trying to preserve your cards,
I would say the
or
opposite.
would you
Yeah.
or would you say because you're playing out all your cards, then you can end with a free attack?
Yeah, I think Spitfire is the more efficient of the weapons, right? They both swing for 2 damage.
Mhm.
Spitfire is free, you just have to tap a cog. While
Yep.
Blunderbuss requires 2
Mhm.
resources, so it requires you to pitch a card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The difference
Yeah.
being is Blunderbuss you can use no matter what, right? So you can
Mhm.
just swing for 2 as long as you have 2 resources to pitch, which, you're playing Flesh and Blood, you should always have at least 2 resources. Well, Spitfire, if you don't have a cog or a gold to make a cog, then you just can't swing with it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And because Treasure
Mhm.
Island is something like that's the way you get gold, you have to hit your opponent. It can often be very tough to justify Spitfire if your opponent is denying your gold.
Mhm.
No. And one thing about Cogworks Blunderbuss, it's the instant ability where you tap a cog you control. This card's next attack, this turn gets go again. You have to do this in advance of attacking, so you can't like
Yes.
stack it on the window and then all of a sudden give it a magical go again. You have to announce that ahead of time. So
Yeah.
for the new players out there, just be careful with that. All right. So those are the weapons. Any final thoughts before we move on to the cards?
No.
From a flavor standpoint, it's interesting that the blunderbuss has the go again and the Spitfire does not, just because I'm fairly certain the blunderbuss was like the old shotgun and
Mm-hmm.
not the most efficient to reload. But anyway, I digress. We can move on.
Trevor and I are very upset that she didn't get a wrench.
Yeah. That ranch would have been cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
Unlucky.
since Max's Armory just came out and
Yeah,
it kind of
yeah.
felt like they're hyping up wrenches. Yeah, I feel that.
So next card is up is Golden Sky Warden. This is 4 cost yellow that has a keyword Galvanize. When this defends, you may destroy an item you control. If you do, this gets +1 defense. If a golden cog is destroyed this way, create a gold token and repeat this process. It's 7 attack and 2 defense.
I
What do you
feel
guys
like
think?
this is straight 5 for Puffin's deck. If anything, it defends very well, but worst case, it swings for 7.
That's kind of interesting. I'm actually pretty high on this as well, but I'm a little less high. I think the galvanize ability is kind of situational, right? If you don't have any cogs, this defends for 2, which is not great. But a 4 for 7 is quite powerful. And if you do have a number of different cogs, yeah, being able to sack them to make this defend for maybe like 3 to 4 and then still getting some gold, like that's pretty powerful. I think
because
I
you
would.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ning.
I was saying, I think the interesting part about this is also, it says destroy a golden cog and you create a gold token and repeat the process. It's interesting that you can either default as a 4 block, or if you have multiple cogs, you can keep at it and create more gold tokens, or you're just like, okay, I'll just use this to block for the standard 3, and now I have a free gold token. I think
Yeah.
that is a very interesting thing about this card too.
All right.
No,
Final rating,
it's
guys.
quite good. I think it's a 4. Ning thinks
I'd
it's
give
a
it
5.
a
How
4
about
as
you?
well.
All right, Trevor, you said 4. Ning, what were you
Yeah.
at?
I said it was a 5.
All right. And this is where you can tell I don't play mechs because I was not high on this card. I gave it a 3, right? But then again, I don't play mechs often. So this card's a
Well, the
little bit more
other
situational. So
Yeah, but I think the other thing, based off of the few pirate cards that I've saw, right, that you may or may not include in Puffin, is it likes to interact with yellow cards as well. So I feel like for me, for whatever reason, I have been rating or my thoughts on yellow cards in this limited set is higher than the regular yellow card rating I would give.
fair.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think a lot of cards refer to yellow cards, so yellows naturally get a lot better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Who wants to read the next one?
I could do this one.
Okay.
This is another majestic pyromechanologist attack action. The Jolly Bludger costs 2. It's a yellow pitch. When this attacks, you may tap a cog you control. If you do, this gets overpowered. When this deals damage to a hero, steal that many items they control. And then it has thrice per turn instant. You can tap a cog you control. This gets +1. I gave this a 5. I think it's a bomb.
I think this would be a 5. And then to Evans and Trevor's points, I think this would be stronger than the other one, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
maybe
agree with 5.
and I gave it a 5 as well. This is definitely a bomb. Clearly stated. There's nothing about this that is bad. I mean, my God, you can steal people's gold tokens. You can steal their items. Why wouldn't you want this?
And overpower. So they
And
really
overpower.
gotta work for it one way or another. Yeah.
And then
So-
it blocks 3. Like, it does everything.
And
It
it's
does
2
everything
cost.
you want. And it's yellow.
I don't know. Like, yeah, I give this a 5. Like, to me, this was obvious for the Golden Scar Ward, and there's a little bit more hoops. So
Yeah.
let's
This
talk.
would look at playing Puffin pretty heavily.
Well, I love the
Yeah.
once per turn instance or thrice per turn instances that they have with the cogs. It's fantastic.
Mhm.
So this is Rust Belt. It is a mechanologist equipment chess piece, and at instant speed you can tap a cog you control, destroy this equipment, and gain a resource. It also has Battle Worn 1, so you can block for 1, and then later on use the ability. How do you guys feel about this card?
This
Means-
got a 4 for me.
It's a 4. I mean, it's a
With-
block
with-
bit.
Yeah, I for me, without seeing, because just for full disclosure, I haven't looked at all the cards, right? So without knowing any of the other chess pieces that Puffin is able to equip, I feel like this would float between a 4 and a 5 for me, just because it does block for 1, but more importantly, it's a battle worn, so you
Mhm.
can get that extra value, and then you can get an extra resource whenever, because it is an instant. And I think
Yeah.
that's pretty strong. I also don't know what else is out there. So without knowing anything in a limited situation, I feel like this would be a 5. Maybe I'm just
Yeah.
giving 5 for all mechanologist cards. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
To allude to some cards in the set, there are a lot of cards in the set that create a resource. All of them are chess pieces. So
Okay.
the ability in question isn't that unique, but the other ones don't also have Battle Worn, right? You have to get rid of them completely. The fact that this blocks for 1 and also gives you the resource, that's quite big. So
Yeah.
I think I'm with Trevor. I don't think it's like a bomb or anything, but I'm down for a 4.
I guess in terms of comparisons and ratings, would your is your 4 in comparison to the other chess pieces of the set that Puffin is able to equip? So would there be a 5 within?
I evaluate
That-
the card based off the card itself, not in relation to other cards. Like, if I saw 2 4s, then I have the option. But for Rust Belt by itself in isolation, for what it does, I would give it a 4 as a common mech equipment for the chest. Right. So
Gotcha.
just because
Yep.
so I rate it as that. You know, it might have some synergy, which would probably bring up that level. But as a standalone equipment, I just rate it as it is. Right. Same thing with all the cards. I'm
Okay.
seeing it in that vacuum. But you know, as we were alluding to, you could kind of point it out to, hey, this would work really well in this. So if you have 2 of these cards, even better. But for right now, I'd be happy to have it just to start the game with.
I gotcha. Yeah. Makes sense.
There are
Makes
definitely
sense.
some pieces of equipment I would call a 5. Spoilers, we're about to see one. But yeah, Rust Belt, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Evan, you said
Gotcha.
Unicycle was a 5. Do you want to read it real quick?
So this is Unicycle, the funniest card in the set, because just flavor-wise, just imagine Puffin on this while she's fighting you. But it is a mechanologist leg piece. As an instant, you can destroy it to untap a cog you control, and it also has Battle Worn 1, so you can block with it for 1 and then untap a cog. And yeah, untapping cogs is very, very powerful. We saw earlier the Jolly Bludger, which had the ability to tap up to 4 cogs, and often enough you might think to yourself, when would I ever have 4 cogs? Well, if you have the unicycle, then anytime that you need more cogs than you have, just one you can untap one of the cogs to use an additional effect.
Yeah, super powerful. They got a 5 from me as well.
I gave it a 4, but you know I've rated it pretty high. I do like the art, by the way. It's a one-legged man on a unicycle. How great is that? All right, instead of a peg leg, he's on a unicycle. Anyways,
That's pretty good.
Cogworks
Good take.
Dovetail. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go take it, Trevor?
Yeah, I could do this one. I want to talk about it a little bit. This is another mechanologist attack action card. Works dovetail. It's a red pitch one, or a red that cost one. When this hits a hero, untap all cogs you control. And then it has the thrice per turn instant. You can tap a cog you control. This gets +1 or go again. So you pick one of those modes. And a cute thing that you can do with this card that may not be immediately apparent is if you only have 2 cogs, you could do the +1 instant for +1 go again, +1 go again. And then if it hits and you untap your cogs, you could tap a cog in the resolution step, I believe, to give it go again. So you only need 2 cogs in order to give this the 7 go again, which is very powerful. And if you have unicycle, you only need 1 cog. Like,
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts, I think.
Yeah, this is a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like 5 to me.
Evan?
Oh, I definitely agree. This card is very, very good.
I think any card that allows you to be kind of tricksy with it is always get the high rating from me. Where you're like, all right, you have multiple routes you can take depending on what your opponent decides to do too.
Mm-hmm.
So
This one's Palantir Aeronaut. It's a red card, 2 cost, 6 attack, 3 defense. The text says the defending hero must defend this with an equipment they control if able. Thrice per turn instant, tap a cog you control. This gets +1. If this is the 3rd time you've activated this ability, destroy a defending card. I mean,
This one's pretty tough to evaluate because unlike the last one where if you have 1 to 2 cogs, like that one's really powerful. This card is quite good, but it requires you to have 3 cogs in order to get the additional effect of destroying the defending card. And that effect is really, really powerful. So I think even though it's tough to do, I think this is a build around. Like if you have unicycle and you have this, then you try to set this up for the 3 cog turn or the 2 cog turn with a unicycle. And yeah, I would definitely give this a 5 because that effect is insane, right? If you're destroying a 3 block card, this is essentially a 2 cost 12 damage.
Yeah, this one is definitely bleeding damage through regardless if you get that 3rd cog activated. I mean, I don't rate it as highly as the other 2 thrice per turn instances because I think this is more built around for, CC than it is for sealed. I mean, you're happy to see this is sealed though. So don't get me wrong. You want this card regardless.
It got a 4 for me as well, just because I feel like it's really tough to get the 3rd cog in my experience.
Yeah,
But
the payoff for the
it's
3rd
very
cog.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah, if you get the 3rd cog, the payoff is good. But I think compared to the other 2, it's a little easier to get the other 2 activated versus this one. So I give it a 4.
So if you drew this, would you just play it as a 2 for 6 and maybe you get +1 or 2, or would you just let it sit in the arsenal and then try to build up more cogs to do a big turn?
It kind of depends for me, like where are life totals at, and like is your deck equipped for it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have, as I said, if you have unicycle and you have this, and you're both at 20, like I would 100% sit on this in arsenal.
Yeah. With unicycle, it gets a lot better. Getting cogs is much easier.
Evan said it. If you build around for this deck or this card, then you actually will probably plan on it, and it could be a game ender. Like it is definitely a bomb. So if you're able to look at your card pool and get this off, then you're very happy. Right?
And we talked about it in our last podcast a bit. Shout out, shameless plug. But
I love
you will, if you're playing limited for the most part, you will go through your entire deck. So it's not unheard of to be able to wait through your entire deck to set up like a 2 card combo.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is Cog in the Machine. It costs 1. Is a red card. So it creates 2 golden cog tokens. You may tap a cog you control. If you do, put this on the bottom of its owner's deck and then blocks for 3. I would assume this is a 5 just because this essentially allows you to have an extra action point, which is very strong. And if you do crank both of them right when they're created, then you also get to draw a card as Puffin.
Yeah, this got a 5 for me. I think it's really good.
Yeah,
I
it's a
would
bit
sit-
tougher than some of the others, just because it doesn't immediately, like, by itself, it's not super impactful. It requires other cards to do all the heavy lifting, but it is such a good glue piece that, yeah, I agree on a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to give it a 4 because it doesn't have go again, but the golden cogs with the crank make it have go again, so it's
It has
pretty
double
good.
go again if you
It
want.
has,
It has no.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I give
it-
versatile.
I think even in CC, I would assume you just automatic 3 of move on with your life.
Yeah, this is a 5 of. Or I'm sorry, this is a 5 for me.
Yeah, 5 of unlimited, baby.
So Cogworks Workshop,
Uh,
this is a blue pitch, 1 cost, create a golden cog token, put a steam counter on up to 2 cogs you control. It's a mech action, 3 defense. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I gave it a 4. I wasn't sure it was as strong as Cog in the Machine, but it's still a blue block 3, and when you play it, you make the golden cog token, you can crank it, and then making a cog is good because then you can activate Puffin and just draw a card, and then it lets you keep your cogs around for the extra turn, basically, with the steam counters. So you just get to, like, carry on some value.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is quite a strong card. I'm between a 4 and a 5 because if used properly, it is like very similar to Cog in the Machine, and except this one's also a blue instead of a red. Though because it requires a bit more context, like you would need a gold with Puffin in order to get the card draw. That's a bit tougher to set up than Cog in the Machine, where anytime you play it, you can have card draw if you want. Yeah, I agree on a 4.
I give it a 4.
I think to your point, Evan, the fact that it is a blue though definitely makes it pretty strong because everything that we've looked at thus far is, or the except for the 1 or 2 yellow ones, they've all been reds, and so this one actually is arguably very versatile. Where you can use it as a good resource. It does block for 3. The usual blue 3 block, but then if you see that you have enough cogs either on the field or otherwise, you're able to say, okay, no, this is a really good setup turn. So next turn I'll have 2 more cogs that survive, and then I can now do all the things. So contextually for potentially a 5 under right circumstances.
All right, we're on to the rares finally. So I was sick of giving out 5s, but maybe we'll give some more out. This is a Cloud City Steamboat, which is a 2 cost. When it hits a hero, you may tap a cog you control. And if you do, you put a steam counter on a cog you control. And then twice per turn instant, you can tap a cog you control to give it +1, 6 power, and 3 block. Spoilers, this was not the card I thought it would be. I think there's another one, another rare that's definitely a 5. But this one is probably a 4. I think it's quite good.
I gave it a 3, but I could see a 4 being good, at least in red, for sure.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing. The previous cards were Majestics, so there was only one version of them. Starting with these rares and commons, a lot of them come in red, yellow, and blue. So we potentially have to evaluate all 3 of them, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we should do it in one shot, though.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, final verdict on red?
I'm fine
So
with
I
it.
guess, yeah. So originally, I guess Trevor, you're saying it was more of a 3. Is that just because it requires an on hit effect as opposed to it just does the thing?
For me, I feel like 2 costs are slightly awkward in Puffin. I feel like you want 1 cost a lot just because it works better with the blunderbuss. So if you're playing a 2 cost, I think you want like a pretty premium on hit or like some stat line. And I think this one's like pretty good, but it can be in my experience, it can be kind of hard to get the cog tapping because I feel like you would do the pistol or the blunderbuss first, tap a cog, so you need the second cog for this, and sometimes that doesn't always line up, but if it does, it's good. But I don't know.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
I would give the red a 4, and then maybe the other 2 like a 3 and 3.
Yeah, I would say this one card gets exponentially stronger the more cogs you have in play, because then your value actually goes up. So I would say, yeah, the red and blue, I would give like a like a. I guess I would give it a 3. All of them.
I would definitely give the red and blue 4s because, like, Puffin doesn't have too many blue block 3s, so having access to blue block 3s for her is quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 2 for 6 doesn't ability to tap cogs to give it +1, so you can bring it up to 8 if you have 2 cogs. Or potentially you could keep the cogs around by tapping them after the fact if your opponent's letting it hit.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's super flexible. It's quite powerful. As Trevor said, it's not like the end all be all. But yeah, so 4 for me for red and blue, and then 3 for the yellow.
Yeah, for 3-4 sounds about right for me.
All right, this is the Trevor. Why don't you read this out?
Sure. This is Cogwork Zeppelin, another Mechanologist rare attack action card. Costs 2, swings for 6, the cycle 5, and then 4. When this hits a hero, you may tap a cog you control. If you do, create a golden cog token. Twice per turn, instant. Tap a cog you control. This gets +1. It's very strong. This is a 5-er.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the difference
5.
between this and the previous one is when you're creating a golden cog, you can crank it to gain an action point. So
Yeah.
this literally has on hits. If you have an untapped cog, you can give it go again.
Yeah.
And with the instant speed effect, it's also very difficult for them to block. Like if they say, I don't want this to hit, I don't want you to have go again, well, that's a tough break on them because like they have to account for the extra +1s that you can give it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel it's very strong in all colors.
Yeah, you're talking about adaptability
think
for
it's
the last
a-
card, but I think this one is a 5 because it's so strong and flexible. Right?
I think the yellow and blue I'd probably give a 4.
That's fine.
So this one's Copper Cog. It's a blue pitch, 0 cost, unlimited. It's the first one I've seen of this one. You may have any number of Copper Cogs in your deck. Crank. As this enters the arena, you remove a steam counter from it. If you do, gain an action point. This enters the arena with 2 steam counters. At the start of your turn, destroy this unless you remove a steam counter from it. No attack, no block. It is a cog item. I don't know what to think about this one, fellas. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I think I like it because it's a blue 0 cost that does something for your deck, but I would give it a 3. That's my initial reaction on it.
Yeah, it's like I have it as like a 4, but it's a pretty soft 4. I think it's good because you can play it, crank it, get the action point back, activate Puffin, you draw a card, so it kind of replaces itself, and it's a cog that'll stay in play for an extra turn since it has that steam counter, which I think is pretty powerful because I feel like in limited you just have 2 cogs a lot of the time, and this can kind of let you get to like 3, which can let you do some more.
Yeah, the
More
fact that this has 2 steam counters on it opposed to 1 means that you can crank it and you can still keep it around for 2 separate turns. So all those effects that we've seen so far that want you to tap cogs, now you have an additional 1 to do them. So this is quite strong. I would agree with a 4.
Okay. I mean, you guys convinced me on that one because I was kind of soft on the 3, but I just, like, to me, it didn't seem as strong as some of the other cards we talked about, and I'm more open to the golden cog, but I did like the blue pitch on it. So, did you have a final up thought? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. It was just soft 4 sounds about right. Yeah. All right. We're looking at lubricate. That's a blue. Is it cost 0? 0 cost card. Untap up 3 cogs you control, and it's an instant. Well, we just talked about the powers of tapping and how good that is. I think the fact that this is an instant brings it up, and it's a blue. I would give it a 4. I don't, just because by itself, if you don't have any cogs, then it's kind of a useless card. But if you're able to do something or other, then maybe it's good. But I don't know. Well, what are your thoughts?
I think you hit it. I mean, I think this could be potentially a trap, and you guys correct me if you're wrong. I think it can be strong if you have a lot of cogs and you still pull. But I think you see this card and you're like, oh, I don't want to. You don't want to force this in. Like you have to count your cogs,
I
right?
probably, as a card, even though I said 4, like I would potentially just keep it as a 1 of and call it a day, right? I don't think I'd be like, oh man, I opened 3 of these. Let's put all 3 of them in.
Unless
Trevor,
you had
you've been
a whole bunch of cogs with it. So I'll give it a 3 right now, but it could potentially be a 5 depending on your skill pool. What do you think,
Trevor,
Trevor?
you've been so quiet. Tell us about lubricate, bro.
It gets a 5 for the art for sure.
Yeah. We're
The
averaging out.
name,
We're averaging
yeah.
out.
I kind of think it's dog though. I don't think.
Yeah,
it's
me too.
good. Yeah, like if the stars align, like it could be cool in like an unexpected little like it's almost like an attack reaction, I guess, because there's none of those really in the set. So that's kind of interesting, but I just feel like it's so niche and like it has to line up so well, and it doesn't block, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
2.
Yeah,
for
that's
me.
the big issue for me as well. Like, if this blocked for, let's say, like 2, I would probably be okay on it. But blocking for 0 is
Yeah.
not where you want to be. Like, the copper cog we were okay with because I think the card is just always quite strong. This one being so conditional and also not blocking,
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a death sentence.
And if you just don't have cogs, it does nothing, and that's
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't have cogs, and more importantly, if you don't have like cog synergy, right? So if you have cogs and
Sure.
you have nothing to tap for them, or you have like one thing you want to tap, it's like that's not good enough. I'm with Trevor. I think
feel
it's
like-
a 2, but I think like it's a conditional 2. I could see decks where it's like a 3 or even a 4.
Okay.
I think that's been interesting based off what I've seen, where it feels like you can for each hero you can go multiple routes, based depending on what you crack open, right, for your seal. But the fact that there's so many archetypes that can make lubricate either basically a 1 or 0, because it's worse than a crack bottle because you can't even block with it, or it could be up to a 4.
Spoilers: Crack Bauble doesn't block either. Nang.
Oh, does it not? Oh, well then. Slightly better. Titanium bobble then. There you go.
Titanium Bauble would get a
Doesn't-
5 from me, brother.
Blocks
Oh.
3.
It blocks 3.
So crack bobble doesn't
Speaking
block,
of-
but titanium
Speaking
does? That's crazy.
Yeah, titanium's like super defensive, It's made of titanium.
Yeah, makes
All right,
sense.
gents,
Makes sense.
continuing on.
Yeah, sorry. This is Pinion Sentry. It's a blue mechanologist block card. When this defends, you may tap a cog you control. If you do, create a golden cog token. This got a 4 for me. I think it's very strong.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with 4. So the way that like the golden cogs and a lot of cogs work is that at the start of the turn, if they don't have a steam counter, they get destroyed. So when it's your opponent's turn, you might have some random golden cog lying around that you used the previous turn. It's going to get destroyed at the start of your turn. So you're getting 0 value out of it. But if you block with this, all of a sudden, like, this is refreshing and giving you a new golden cog. And since this is giving it to you on your opponent's turn, you can very often just keep the steam counter on it. Or there are even actually fringe cases where you actually crank it. For instance, if you have 2 of these and you block on the same turn, you crank both of them, you can actually draw a card off Puffin. It doesn't matter that it's your opponent's turn. If you double crank, you still get card draw.
And you would only need 1 cog to do that, right? Because one would summon the cog, and then you could tap the cog that gets summoned.
Yeah.
So it's not. It could happen pretty easily.
Yeah, that one feels kind of niche because it's like you need 2 copies of the same rare. But there are a couple common cards that would synergize with that we'll probably talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I give it a 4. It's a blue literal block 3 that has upside. So I think we all said that blue block is pretty strong, and this is no exception.
Yep. 4 is good.
So this one is a Cloud Skiff, which is a 1 cost, 5 attack, 3 block, and once per turn instant, you can tap a cog you control to give it either +1 power or go again. How do you feel about this one, Trevor?
The red and blue got 4s for me. I think those are good because it fits that cost curve I keep talking about, where you want a blunderbuss for 2 and then come in with something for 1. And then this is like a 1 for 6, or it could be go again if you have like a 0 for 4 follow up or something, and a cog obviously. But I mean, it's just like very versatile. It's good stats like all the way around. I like them.
I gave the red and blue a 4 and the yellow a 3.
Yeah.
I agree with those. So this next one, very similar to the last. This one's Sky Skimmer. This one costs 0, swings for 4, 3 block, same effect. You can tap a cog, give it either +1 power or go again. And this one's very similar. To be honest, I think I sort of have the same stat line as the last one. So I think the red and blue are 4s and the yellows are 3.
Yeah.
Though if we were to talk about which we prefer, which do we prefer, the 1 for 5 or the 0 for 4?
I might prefer the 0 for 4 just because it works off a 1-card hand for sending 4. And I feel like that's pretty important. And it can be like really good against gravy or something where you need to like kill an ally, you know?
Yeah, and if you have a cog as well, it becomes a 0 for 5, which is quite
Yeah, true. Yeah. So I think that's like really good.
See, I give the red a 4 and then the yellow and blue kind of like the yellow a 2 and the blue a 3. But it's still blue block 3, so it's kind of where the things where the yellow you would never really play unless you absolutely need it in there. So
Yeah.
I mean, even as a worst case scenario, the yellow would be a 0 for 4 or a 0 for 3 go again, or it blocks 3 and it pitches for 2. So
yeah.
I don't know if I'd drop it all the way down to a 2. It'd still be a happy 3-ish, I suppose, for me.
Yeah, I would agree with Ning. I think the yellow's a 3, and I think the blue is a 4 as well. I think the blue is quite strong too.
Teeth of the Cog. I'm sorry, what's the cost for this one?
0 cost, 4,
0 for
4
4
power.
blocks for 2. Okay. Galvanize. When this defends, you may destroy an item you control. If you do, create a golden cog token. I feel like this is a somewhere hovering between a 3 and a 4. It's 0 for 4, which is always welcome. It only blocks for 2, but it lets you refresh a golden cog that's about to die.
So keyword, like it allows you to refresh, but we were talking about the block card earlier. The block card does synergize with cards like this, right? Because this is the way that you would get the double crank on your opponent's turn, is having cards like this.
Yeah. Like 2 of these in a hand, you could draw a card if you have a cog up, which is pretty likely.
See, I didn't even think about that, Evan and Trevor. Like, so I gave like the teeth of the cog really a kind of the red is a 3 and the rest were a 2 for me, just because of the 2 block, and I didn't really see a lot of upside. Yeah, it refreshes your cog, but so you guys are saying it's a little bit better than I valued it at.
Now,
so what?
What's funny is you said that, and you mentioned your scores, and now to be a contrarian, those are the exact scores I would give this.
Yeah, that's also what I gave it.
Because I do think we can talk about how strong like the galvanize ability to refresh the cogs is, but at the baseline, this is 0 for 4 damage, 2 block, right? And blocking 2 is not great, right? Blocking 3 is very, very nice. And would I say that the galvanize ability makes up for the defense value? Maybe a bit, but I would still rather have a 3 block, to be completely frank.
Well, and my thought is, based off what I've been seeing and what I've looked at, I think you want to have ways to refresh your cogs regardless. So fitting in a 2 block really ain't doing it when you have such a good pull so far. But again, that's why I dropped this down to a 3 or a 2, because if it's better than a cracked bobble. So, and then you can fit it in that way. But the actual 0 cost 4, as to Trevor's point, that's still a 0-4. That's above rate right there. So other than the 2 blocks. So that's my thought on it. So I'm glad we aligned up on that. This is Tough Old Wrench. I love this name. It's a rainbow. This is a red pitch for 2. It's galvanized. When this defends, you may destroy an item you control. If you do, create a golden cog token. The red comes in for 6, the yellow for 5, and the blue for 4. This is a 2 block.
I would rank this below my boy, the Tooth. I suppose it's a 2 for 6, but also, I guess I haven't. To be fair, I haven't built any decks for this, but I just don't know how great a 2 for 6 really works, and then also only blocks for 2 with the same effect as the last card.
Yeah, this got 2s across the board for me, just because, again, the cost curve that I really like is gun into 1 attack or something, and then 2 cost doesn't really fit it, and then I just feel like there's better things you could be doing.
I definitely agree. I would argue that the red one is still probably a 3 for me, just because good red cards are hard to come by sometimes. Though I definitely think
Sure.
this is lower than the teeth card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the
Yeah,
name,
yeah,
love
yeah.
the art, but let me tell you, I gave it the red of 3, the rest of 2. It's just, you
Yeah.
know,
And
Trevor,
this is
this
the
one
wrench
just
that
showed
Trevor
up.
and Evan were looking for.
What?
I was hell yeah.
It's the wrench card you guys were looking for.
Oh,
Vibes
yeah,
across
it's
the
weird.
board from me, baby. So this card, this is the Gold Wing Turbine. So it is a 2 cost. It is a non-attack action that blocks for 3. And your next Mechanologist attack this turn gets +3 power, and you create a golden cog token. Notably, does not have go again, so you would have to crank the cog in order to get your action point back. But how do we feel about this one, boys?
This one got a 5 from me, at least in the red. It's very, very, very strong because if you have a gold up and you use this with Puffin, you crank the cog off this, you break the gold, you crank that cog, and then you draw a card. So this was basically like a 3 for free because like you didn't even use a card here and you got 2 cogs at the end of that. So I think it's like very, very strong, and the yellow and blue also have 4s for me, and I think they're very good as well.
I agree with that sentiment. I think like we've been talking about like ways to get additional cogs and ways to draw with Puffin, and a lot of them is just like sort of sidestepping, and it's kind of difficult to do, right? The galvanized cards sort of require you to already have a cog, and it's done on your opponent's turn. This one, there's no frills attached. Just you make the cog.
Creates it.
If you have another gold,
Yeah.
you make a second cog. So I agree with Trevor's analysis. I think 5 for the red and then 4 for the other 2.
Yep.
so I gave it a 4, yellow was a 3, and then the blue was a 4, but close enough. It's for the same sentiments. I just felt like the blue, I mean, it's a block 3 buff, right? That creates a golden cog. So it fits within your game plan. I mean, why wouldn't
Blue
you
block
want
threes.
blue
Love to
block
see it.
3s?
Draw back the hammer. Cost 1. Your next Mechanologist attack this turn gets +4 attack. You may untap a gun you control. Go again, blocks 2.
I think
I
oh,
don't
sorry.
know.
I think we could go over the next 3 cards because they're kind of a cycle, and they all do like pretty
Yeah.
similar things.
Okay, interesting. So we'll cover perk up next, which is a 1 cost as well. Your next mech attack this turn gets +4. You may untap your hero. Go again. It's a 2 block.
And then tighten the screws. It's basically the same thing. 1 cost, 2 block. Your next mech attack gets +4, but this time you get to untap a cog you control.
And they all are 1 pitch or red. So
Yeah, I think they're good glue cards because again, if it's the cost curve I like, where you can do this into blunderbuss for like 6 damage, and I like that a lot. I don't think it's like the best thing you can be doing because they're 2 blocks. So I gave tighten screws and draw back the hammer 3s. That's the untapped cog and untapped gun you control. But perk up I think is very strong because if you have 2 gold, you can draw a card off that with Puffin. So you tap Puffin, cog, and crank it, and then you play that one, untap Puffin, and then you can do it again. So I think that one's above the rest.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I think the exact order, if I were to rank all 3 of these cards, I think perk up, untapping your hero is the strongest because just the ability, you get 2 gold, draw a card, that's insane. The next one I think is the best would probably be the untap a gun. The idea with the blunderbuss is you can untap the gun after you give it go again, so you get to swing an additional 2 as long as you have the resources for it. So that has the next most application. Tighten the screws. Untapping a cog is quite useful, but the issue is usually you're going to be tapping the cogs during combat, right? So you would want the untap effect to be an instant, right? Like unicycle. Having it on a buff before you go to combat, often enough, there can be issues of I don't have a tapped cog. Like there's nothing I've done there.
yeah, I gave perk up the untap the hero one a 4, maybe a 5. Tighten the screws is my second favorite because I value that more because it just pairs really well with those ships. And those ships, yeah, they are a whole suite of them, both in rares and majestics. And then I pit drawback the hammer at the lowest ranked one at 3, but they're all pretty good cards because they do follow the max cost curve that you really want. So you'd be happy with any of them, but definitely perk up being the best. in my personal opinion.
I guess with what you guys seen, do these actually do anything, or do they just kind of end up being a +4 unless the stars align very well?
Perk
Perk
up
up's pretty
definitely does
easy to get.
something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
other
a lot
two
of
are
gold.
definitely a bit more niche, to be completely frank.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
We get
Sounds good.
to Golden Cog. Crank. As this enters the arena, you may remove
Which,
a
and we've already talked about it.
We've been talking about cogs for like the past hour.
Guys, it's so beautiful though. I wanted to read it. Okay. Well, this is the last card in the
Literally.
this is the last card in the mech card pool before we go to Necromancer. Final thoughts on the Mechanologist class as we progress?
I think it's very fun. I think having a mechanologist class that doesn't require boosting and being able to do all these funky tap untap whatnots is a very fun mental exercise.
I think it's the most straightforward of the classes, right? It's the only weapon that just straight up has, or the only hero with a weapon you just pitch to attack with normally. And a lot of the lines that it has are just buff things, swing big damage. So I think if you're a new player and you're worried about maybe the other two heroes being a bit weirder, Puffin might be the one you want to look at.
What's a pirate's favorite letter? No guesses?
Probably the C, right?
Nah, it'd be R. Anyways. Instant tap. Destroy gold you control. Draw a card, and then discard a card. If a blue card has been put into your graveyard this turn, you may play cards with Watery Grave from your graveyard. Alright, and I know we got into the habit of covering weapons, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, now that that's done, let's go ahead and talk about...
Well, specifically, we should probably talk about what Watery Grave is, right?
Sure.
So, in essence, Watery Grave is just a keyword that says whenever this card enters... Yeah, this is a good example. So, when this is put into your graveyard from the arena, turn it face down, right? And that seems like a negative effect because it is. And in essence, what happens is you need to find a way to get these allies into your graveyard without playing them. And then once you do, you can use Gravy's effect to bring them from the graveyard into play.
I think one thing to note from the rules that they listed is if you go back real quick to the definition of watery grave, right? It says that it's face down if it goes into your graveyard from the arena. So if you have already summoned this ally and then it dies, then it went from arena to graveyard, so it is now face down. However, if you play a card or an effect that say discard a card and then you coincidentally discard a card that has watery grave, that isn't the same thing because it wasn't originally from the arena. So it would be in the graveyard face up. And
So,
that
for
matters.
instance, yeah, Gravy Bones is of other effect. You know, he can sack a gold, you tap him, and then you draw and discard. So you can use that to discard your allies, and then you can play them later on with Watery Grave. Do note you can only play them if you've played a blue card. So if a blue card has entered your graveyard this turn. So there are two different lines you need to think about with Gravy Bones. You need to have ways to get the cards, the allies specifically, into your graveyard. And then you also need to have ways to play blues while still retaining your action point.
Yeah.
Or sacking the blues. You don't necessarily have to play them. You could also discard them from an effect if allies are already in there.
And so I know we talked about Gravy Bones not having an actual weapon, but he does have an offhand. So let's go ahead and cover that.
So this is the Compass of Sunken Depth. And as an instant, you can tap it. You can look at the top card of your deck. And the first card with Watery Grave you play from your graveyard each turn gets Go Again. And this is incredibly important because the allies with Watery Grave that we've seen, you can technically play them from hand. The issue is it takes up your action point, so you can't do anything outside of play with them, right? Like you can't swing, you can't attack with them afterwards if they come from hand. So this is a good way because Gravy allows you to draw and discard. knowing what's on top of your deck is super important, which this compass helps you do. And then playing allies out of your graveyard is super good with this, because then the first one gets go again, and then you can ideally attack with the ally you just played.
Mm-hmm. And I love
Right.
the balance that Gravy Bones has to have in their deck construction. You can't just throw everything in there. This is really, you have to be so conscious about the different colors you throw in here too, because you need the blues, but a lot of his allies are yellow, and his red have the power cards that you really need. So you can't fit all the reds in there, because really, so you got to think about what kind of Gravy Bones you're building, which way you're going to slant towards. So I like that little puzzle you get even before you get to the table.
Ning, you want to give this a read for us?
Yep. Sure. So this is Washed Up Wave. It's Pirate Necromancer equipment for the arms. It doesn't block for anything. However, if you do block with it, you may discard a card or destroy the top of a card from your deck. If that card has Watery Grave, then this gets +2. So this is one of the reasons why that compass is so strong, right? Because you can peek at the top of your card and then just check to see, is the first card or the top card of my deck have Watery Grave? If so, then you don't have to give up a card from your hand. But if you do need to put a card with Watery Grave into your graveyard, then you can also use that to sack one of the allies, as we mentioned before, and that has a blade break. Without knowing too much about Gravy Bones, I would assume this is a 4, just because it helps you do the thing you want and also blocks for 2 if you do it correctly, which I assume should be easy enough.
I think, and this is, I've done a bit of playing this in doing some draft queues online. Washed Up Wave is a very strong card. Do note that allies do not block, like they have no block value, so you cannot block with them. So sometimes if you have allies in hands, that can cause issues if your opponent is swinging for a lot. So even if there's not like a Watery Grave card on top of your deck, just being able to discard an ally with this card to block for 2 is very handy. Not to mention, like, if your turn just doesn't line up, right? Like, you have allies in hand, but you don't have anything in your graveyard to play. You can use this to basically get a free ally into your graveyard. So yeah, Washed Up Wave for me is very, very strong. This is a very important glue card, in my opinion, for Gravy Bones. So I'm definitely giving it a 5.
Yeah, I would say compared to this over the basic package equipment you get, yeah, you want to play this. It's a 5. It's an enabler. Why not?
Any thoughts, Trevor?
I gave it a 4, but that was just because I'm not too familiar with Gravy. Because it's kind of like in my mind a conditional block 2, but it is very strong to get that card into the grave and block 2.
So you went at it from a value perspective, and we went at it as an enabler, right? Because it plays with his game plan, but from a pure block perspective, it's a conditional block for you. Okay.
So this card is Blood in the Water, our very first Pirate Necromancer Majestic. This is a Pirate Necromancer D-React. It is a 0 cost, 4 block. When this defends, you may discard a card or destroy the top card of your deck. And if the card had Watery Grave, this gets +2 defense. Instantly, this is a 5 from me. Any 0 for 4 defense reaction, in my opinion, is a 5, no matter what it is. And this one also, the additional ability to discard to Watery Grave to get the +2 effect, that's insane. Like, this being a 0 for 6, and like you get to have a super useful card in your graveyard, that's crazy.
If there's a rating above 5, it would be that, because I just think it's strong, right? So.
Yeah.
It's a Necro Soul Shield.
Huh. Good way of thinking about it.
This is Chart the High Seas. This is a blue block 3 Necromancer action. You look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may pitch a blue card from among them, put the rest into your graveyard. Create a gold token for each yellow card put into your graveyard this way. I gave this a 3 because I think it's kind of just a blue block 3 in limited. I don't think it's going to do too much. I think it's really good and constructed, but I feel like you're just going to be milling yourself because I don't think you're going to have enough control to know that you're going to hit the blue and you're going to be able to use those resources, or you're going to hit the yellow and guarantee make the gold.
Interesting, you gave it a 3. I gave it a 5 because ally is a yellow card, so you want to get those allies in the graveyard with Watery Grave
Yeah,
to kind of
but
help
you have to
enable
hit
that.
it.
Right. But, if you do a lot of blues, so the blue would be a free pitch, right? It has natural go again. And then if it's, a yellow card and it's ally, you'd put in there. And newsflash, I think the only yellow cards you would play would be your ally cards. So I give it a 5, but I'm pretty high on it. It could be just a 4 in that perspective because it also is a blue block 3 with go again. So
Yeah, if
Well,
you hit, it's a 5, but I don't think you're going to hit very
Okay.
often at all.
I'm gonna be real, Will. I'm kind of with Trevor. Part of me wanted to go lower, but
Yeah.
because it's a blue block 3,
Yeah,
I kept it
I'm
at
the same,
a 3. Like that
Yeah.
is literally the only reason it is getting a 3 from me, because it's a blue block 3.
Yeah.
A big issue with Gravy is that Gravy fatigues pretty easily, right? Like if your opponent kills all your allies and stays relatively healthy, like Gravy does not have a weapon he can swing with, he will lose the race of like fatigue. So a card like this that is actively fatiguing yourself, I think is very, very bad. Like
Interesting.
I think a good example is, I think this card saw play in the Calling, and the person who played it waited until his deck was literally empty before he played this in order to get a blue card into the graveyard to trigger Gravy Bones. Like, that is how bad the card is, where you basically have to wait till your deck is empty so you don't fatigue yourself even more,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All right, consider me convinced because, I didn't even think about it because if you just attack the allies, Gravy can't hit you with the weapons, right? And you could just wait him out. So that's one of his drawbacks. Okay.
Yep.
This is Give No Quarter. It is a blue card, 0 cost. The next 2 ally cards with Water Gravy play this turn cost 3 less to play. It has go again. It's a 3 block. I mean,
think
go
the
ahead,
issue
Evan.
with this is it's kind of similar to the last one. The only difference is I'm fine with playing it, right? Like, you do need to play a blue card in order to trigger your Watery Grave, right? And this is a good one because you both technically play it and pitch it because it gains you the resources. So this is a pretty strong card sort of in the late game, but I don't think it is impactful enough where I would comfortably give it any more than a 3. Like, I think this is a good blue block 3, but the effect is okay, but it's better than the last one, but I don't think I'm using it enough where I could give it like a 4. I don't think it's that powerful.
That's what
I guess theoretically you can build Gravy Bones in multiple ways, but two main ways, right? Either a lot of allies or not many allies. So I guess given that situation, would you rate Give No Quarters differently based off of which deck type or deck archetype you end up with? Or would you still say, regardless of how many allies you have in your deck, this is probably just
So
a
I
3
think that's
anyway?
kind of the funny thing is I would argue that there really isn't a way to play a lot of allies, because if you remember, allies don't block, and they're also
Yeah.
really bad in multiples, right? If you have, let's say, like 3 allies in hand, that is terrible. You have 3 no blocks, and if you play any one of them, your action point is gone, and you haven't swung at all at your opponent, right? So I would argue the number of allies that you have is going to be decently
Pretty
low.
minimal.
Like,
Yeah.
I think when I've played it, I think you want around 4 to 5 allies. I think that is the most any Gravy Bones deck can account for.
Actually, I gave this a pretty low rating too, only because I think it's a lot harder than people think is to get the true effect off this. Pretty much, you're going to have to play 2 allies and pass the turn because, even with your compass, it gives the first cast go again. You get a swing with it, or you could pick up a second ally with it, but you're not going to do much with the actual attack turn. So I gave this a lot lower than the other one because I figured to chart the high seas, at least you'll get some value from generating the gold from the yellow pitch or from the yellow discard. But this one, I don't really see a lot of value in limited.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right. Our chum, the friendly first mate. Cost 4, pitches for 2, has 6 health, and hits for 4. As an action point, you can tap it and then attack for 4. Or as an instant, you tap the card and then discard a card with Watery Grave. Then until the end of turn, the opponents must choose our friendly chum as the target of attacks if able. And it has Watery Grave. I guess sounds like I know nothing about Gravy Bones based off what you guys have been talking about, but it feels like this would hover between a 4 and a 5. Yeah, and I suppose it could potentially be a 5 because then you act, or then it gets to act like Arc Lightning or Light Sentinel, or you just get to poke for free if you end up with no cards in your hand.
Well, Ning, I've got some good news for you because I think
Oh,
you are
buddy.
right. I think this is a 5. Unfortunately, I think you are wrong on your reason. I think the Arclight Sentinel effect is really strong and constructed. In limited, though, like if your opponent is ignoring chum and going at your face, you are completely fine with that. You are happy to just block them out and then just swing for every single turn.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a 5 because this is a 4 attack, 6 health ally where if your opponent does not deal with it, which is really hard to do given, 6 health, then every turn, you get domed for 4 free damage for free, right?
That
Yeah.
makes
Like
sense.
that on its own, just stats wise, like I think this is one of the strongest allies.
And I think like you won't use the instant ability often, but it's like a threat constantly. Like if you're playing against a Marlin, they
Sure.
can't just like bomb in a bunch of buffs because then you're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gonna activate the instant.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I think that one
Yeah.
does. That's like the one big context, right?
Yeah, but they won't do that, right? They'll just play a few and probably kill them.
Yeah, but I agree with Trevor. Like I consider this a 5 as well. It's a tap attack for 4 damage. It's hard to remove. It's 6 cost. Easier in this set because there's a lot of 6 power attacks. But the threat, like that mind game of I could always do this, but also it could just be a water grave, throw it into your graveyard for your next turn. So it's not all bad. I mean, you can't block with the allies anyways, and all your allies have water grave. So it just depends. But I think if they're not doing it and you got a bigger setup, like get one of the big beefier guys, and you could probably cast them or get them off, then I think this is definitely an enabler. So I definitely give Chum a 5. But that threat is so good.
So this is Moray Le Fay, which is a 0 cost ally. Am I reading that right?
It is.
All right. And it has 0 attack and 3 health. As an action, you can tap it to attack for free. And as an instant, you can pay 1 resource, you can tap it, and you can put a +1 counter onto target ally. So this one, every single turn, you can make it bigger, you can make a different ally bigger. But spoiler alert, this card is really bad. I would honestly give it... I'm borderline 1, but I will give it a 2. The issue with Moray Le Fay is this is legitimately the easiest ally to ignore. I think if your opponent sees an ally, they should probably, unless they can kill you on the spot by ignoring the ally, they should definitely be removing the ally immediately. Because allies are so powerful. They have such, like, over the course of a long game, they get so much value. Moray Le Fay requires way too much time to get going that, yeah, I just feel like it is just never worth playing, right?
That's what it takes 3 turns to finally get it up to a 3 attack.
3 attack, and you're not allowed to swing with it.
Yeah,
because you already tapped it. Yeah,
that's interesting.
And it costs resources to do as well.
I give this a 3.
Like the entire time.
I like it. All right, and the reason why is because it's something your opponent has to answer, right? Or else, their other attack we just talked about. I mean, a 4 is good, but 5 is even better. And this plays it has an instant speed. It's a 0 cost, 1 resource. I mean, it seems pretty good, so I think you can get value.
I guess for piggybacking on Evan's comment though, what you should theoretically always be clearing people anyway. So I guess if you have Moray out and then another ally out, the question is, who do you buff? Do you buff the other one, or do you buff this one? And so if in the context you're buffing Chum, well, you're going to kill him anyway. So there's no real scare. And then if you do buff Moray while you're killing Chum, well, Moray just pokes at you for one. So then you can just kill it next turn.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
remember,
3 go agains are probably easy to come by overall, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
But it's a choice. Do you kill Moray or do you kill the other ally? And that it's that choice that I kind of like, right? So, I mean, that's my personal thing. I think it's stronger than a 2 by all means. It's an average card which will fit into Gravy Bones' game plan. But then again, I can see how Evan says it's a 2 because it doesn't really, speed up the game plan so long. So I don't know, Trevor. What do you think, man?
I gave it a 2. I don't think it's very good.
yeah, the thing you have to remember, I think I mentioned it, but each deck can probably afford at most around 4 to 5 allies. So if Moray Le Fay is one of those 4 to 5, she is a very low impact ally, right? I'd rather have as big of attack stats, as big of health stats as possible, and she unfortunately does not fit into that criteria.
Yeah, and I think
So-
a lot of the time what you want to do is play your ally and then swing with them, and then this does 0 damage if you do that.
So you guys are talking about big allies.
Yeah, we got Whaler Humperdinck. This is a yellow 6 cost action for 6 resources you can attack, and he's a big boy. He's 11 power and then 7 health. I have him as a 4, and I think that you can like kind of high roll a game immediately with this. Like if you see this in your opening hand, you can just like drop this like from hand.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's like kind of silly, but like in late game, it's like anti-fatigue. Like 7's pretty tough to overcome for health.
So in a perfect world, you could actually have 4 blues in hand, this in the graveyard, and then pitch the double 6, swing 11. That's pretty good. First turn 0, you could put this on the board. And a 7 health ally is super hard for someone to answer. It can be done, right? We've seen the mech cards, right? I like it. I give it a 4.
Yeah.
It's so tough for me. I legitimately, this is one of the few ones where I have absolutely no idea how to rate it, right? It costs overall, in order to play it and swing for it, it costs 11 or 12 resources, and you have to somehow get a blue card into your graveyard, right?
All right.
Theoretically,
Here
that
we go.
costs.
Give
Yeah.
no quarters, Evan. Give no quarters.
You know, if you
There's
have
your blue
give
and
no
top.
quarters and Whaler Humperdinck, give no quarters
Yeah.
is a 5-star card,
Yeah.
and so is Whaler Humperdinck. But yeah, this card, I legitimately don't know how to evaluate it. I guess like if you have 2 blues and you just play it out as a big ally, your opponent is required to answer immediately. Like, is that good enough? I have no idea.
I think it goes based off how many 7 attacks could actually knock this off the board. Like in the previous set, sure, you might have a little bit more trouble, but there's a lot of strong attacks in this set.
Yeah.
It's kind of in my mind, I would always arsenal it. I don't think I would try to get it in the grave, and I would just pitch 2 blues to play it.
Yeah.
I think that's good enough.
Yeah, if
But
you swing
I think
you're
in like
good.
an anti-fatigue, or if like you're trying to a fatigue matchup. But I don't know. Maybe it's not good enough.
So this is Board the Ship. It's a red card. It's 2 cost. When this attacks, you may tap an ally you control. If you do, this gets overpower. This can't be defended by more than 1 action card. It's a Necromancer attack, 6 attack, and it's 3 block. I mean, it's fine, right? I think it's a 4 just because it's a 3 block, 2 attack. You need a few of these in your deck, and it does have a power, so it can be a finisher. I kind of think it's a 3, but I kind of want to give it a 4. All right, that's my final answer. What do you guys think?
I'm between a 2 and a 3, to be completely frank. I think if you think about the way we've sort of been talking about allies, you play an ally, you swing with it, your opponent immediately kills the ally, which I feel like is how games should go. Then all of a sudden, like, where's the ally to tap to gain overpower? And even if you have the ally to tap to gain overpower, that's not that strong, Like, part of me would rather just swing with the ally at that point. Like, unless the overpower is killing your opponent, like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it's pretty weak. That being said, it is a 2 for 6 3 block, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I'd say like low 3, high 2 around there.
Yeah, the stats
Oh,
made it a
oh,
3 for me. The text didn't.
yeah. Yeah. I would say it's a 3, right? Like mentioned, it blocked for 3. It's 2 for 6, and sounds like with Gravy Bones, you basically have half blue, half yellow, and then sprinkle in some reds.
Yeah. Well, I guess also now that we're talking about this in a little bit more depth, because we all have we're in our silo when we're evaluating the cards, and I valued the allies a lot higher without no weapon though, and him being prone to fatigue. It's kind of making me readjust these a little bit now since you guys have been talking about it, and I can see his glaring weakness now. And since you guys mentioned it, I can really see how some of these cards aren't as strong as I initially thought. So consider me convinced. I'm glad we're talking about this now because I'm getting more help from this than probably the audience out there would. But guys, this is good information, right?
During the next podcast, we will update everybody on how Will specifically has done.
Oh, we're going to talk about how we all did, brother.
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
All right. Paddle faster. Is this a 0 for 4? Is that what that says?
It is.
Mhm.
Or is that a 1 for? Yeah. All right. 0 for 4. When this attacks, you may tap an ally you control. If you do, this gets go again and blocks for 3. Honestly, if you have more Moray out there, then hey, this is a 4 go again. This is great. But otherwise, I would assume it's a decent 3 just because it's a 0 for 4 that blocks for 3.
Right on the hammer there,
That's
Nate.
exactly what.
I gave it a 3. I'm evaluating my numbers down a little bit. So yeah, I give it a 3.
It's like a higher 3 than the 2 for 6, but yeah, definitely a 3. All right, next up we got Hoist 'em Up. When this defends, you may tap an ally you control. If you do, this gets +1 block, and it blocks for 4. And, the other two were kind of mid, but a 1-card 4 block is very, very strong.
Mhm.
Most cards block for 3, so getting 4 block of value on a single card, that's very, very nice. I think this is like a high 4 for me.
I give it a 4.
Yeah, 4 for me as well.
Sounds good.
All right, we've got a Vasti, a blue 0 pirate necromancer action that blocks 3. Your next pirate ally attack this turn gets go again. When this hits hero, create a gold token, and it has go again itself. I think I give it a 3, but I think it's like pretty decent because it is those good stat lines and it has the natural go again, so you can get it into your graveyard to turn on the gravy bones, so you can start playing your guys. And then when you don't need it to do that, it pitches and it blocks. I don't really think the ability is super relevant. On hit, make a gold is good, but usually everything already has that because of Treasure Island.
Yeah, I give it a 3. I do like how it gives the ally attack go again, and it does threaten the on-hit gold. So it's whatever you value the gold. I think this is slightly above rate though, even because of the stat line, like you're saying, Trevor.
I think for all the reasons that you said, Will, I gave it a 4 because it also has a blue block 3, and then it seems like it's relatively difficult to have multiple allies hit. So giving that go again is fun, and then having you threaten an on hit, I think is just always a good thing to have.
Yeah, I'm between 3 and 4. I think I lean closer to 3, but yeah, you do have to understand you need to play blue cards in order to use the watery grave effects, and so having blue cards that also do additional powerful things is quite nice. Legitimately, there will be times where you play blue cards, the effect grave effect. So cards like this are nice to have, and definitely keep them in mind.
Heave ho! This is a 0-cost blue pitch. Your next pirate ally attack this turn gets overpowered, and when this hits the hero, create a gold token. It has go again, and it is a block 3. I mean, I give it a 3. I mean, I think the last card, Avasti, was a little bit better. I think this does go with your game plan. It's not bad, but it's not as good as the previous one. You're playing it for the blue block 3 with some upside if you get it off.
Yep.
I would argue, I mean, I do think it is a 3, but I would argue that this is better than the last because Overpower is evasive and leaking through damage is just really powerful. So I do kind of like
I suppose it also depends on what ally you have on there, though, right?
Or how many allies you have.
Like if Yeah. Like with the Humperdinck guy, obviously very strong. But if you have this with Chum, it's like 4 overpower. I guess so.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I do like a lot of the allies that swing for higher numbers, so that partially is skewing my
Surprise.
yeah.
And I like the disruptive allies. I like how this we're counterbalanced here.
Yo ho ho.
What you call
This
me?
is
I'm just joking. Go ahead.
oh, you know what I called you. The blue 0 0 block 3. Your next pirate ally attack this turn gets +1. And when this hits a hero, create a gold token. I don't know. I feel like this is just within the same realm of everything. Yeah. Just a little +1 action. I think it's all there. 3-ish, 4-ish.
Yeah.
It's the average card. I'll give it
Give it
3.
3.
Yeah.
It might
Yeah,
be my
those
favorite of the
3.
cycle.
Really
Yeah.
interesting, Trevor. All right.
I enjoy the go again. I don't know. But it
Yeah.
also just depends. It also sounds like it may be difficult to have multiple allies in one
Yeah.
turn or at any given time. So I can see
I'd be
it.
curious to how easy it is to keep your allies and how many people will target those allies, or how many people will draw those brick
Mhm.
cans. Don't target the allies because they want your health down. So I think that's where the actual gameplay
Mhm.
experience will come in. I am curious to see if the allies do get to stay on the board, but we'll find out. All right. But if they target the allies, like I think good players will, because it's great value if you leave them on the board, then you might have an issue.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got Kelpie Tangled Mess. 0 cost, 1 attack, 3 health. You can tap it to attack, and as an action, you can pay a resource and tap it in order to tap target hero or ally, and that effect has go again. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. I have alluded to liking allies with high stats, and this one has quite low stats. The ability is decently powerful. Tapping a hero or an ally does seem pretty good, but unfortunately, I just don't think it's good enough to justify sort of being an ally in your deck. I don't know. I think I'm giving it a 2, to be honest. It's slightly
Yeah.
better than Moray Lefay because it swings for 1 opposed to 0.
I gave it a 2 as well.
Yeah, I gave it originally a 3, but I'm moving it down to a 2 just based off what you guys were saying. I do think there's enough decently powered cards in this set where you don't really need to rely on your hero power to actually have a game plan, unlike previous sets, cough Fang. Um, so yeah, I think I'll move it down to a 2, and we'll see. I might be pleasantly surprised. All I know is Kelpie could definitely choke me out. So
No. Oh no. Yeah, I would say within the context of Seal, it's probably a 1 or a 2. I guess within the context of CC, for example, though, would you and then I guess specifically I would think Guardian, would this be rated a little higher or would this still just kind of be mediocre?
I think in
Just
CC
for
it's rated
anybody,
higher. I think it's good in CC.
I think currently it's bad in CC because like very few heroes have
everybody
tap
can.
abilities, but like
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
time goes on further and further, like I'm assuming the tap ability is here to stay, so more and more heroes are going to tap. So it just gets
Actually,
better and
So
better.
then you just target your say is kind
Yeah.
of what
It's
you're saying.
an action,
I
not an
gotcha.
instant.
you're gonna have to repeat that, Nink. You broke up.
The what now?
You're gonna have to repeat that. You broke up.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I can understand in CC in the future where heroes have tap abilities that having this on your side would be helpful to disrupt their own turn, right? Because you untap at the end of your turn. So for your opponent, if you tap them on my turn and then it goes to their turn, their hero is already tapped. So therefore, they can't do the thing in the future.
And I'll revise my number because I didn't make the connection. I thought when you tap your hero, you lose your hero power for whatever reason. But I just realized they still have their hero power. It's just they're tapped, right? So I'll give it a 2. New answer. Right. In CC and in limited. Because it's better than a
Mhm.
cracked bottle. It still blocks 3. Unlike cracked bottle. Ain't that right,
Mhm.
Nink?
All right. We got another Necromancer ally. This is Limpet Hopalong. 0 cost. It's 2 attack, 1 health. For action, 1 resource. You can tap it to attack. And then this one has go again, which I think is pretty strong. I mean, it's the only one that can do that. and that's like an extender. I feel like 1 health is like really awkward to clear with, so they have 2 or 3 cost and 2 or 3 attack into it to clear it, and I think that's just kind of some extra value. So I gave it a 4.
Yeah, I can agree with this. I mean, I've been harping on about the bigger allies being better. Ning, you were talking about a different package where you can play smaller allies, and just try to play multiple allies, like throw them up onto your board.
Yeah.
I think limpet is the way to do that. Like if you have limpets, you can double ally, you can limp it, you can swing with her, you can play another ally, you can swing with it. And I think that is the context where I think having more than 5 allies might be pretty powerful. So I would agree with the 4.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
And can I say, Scuba Salty Sea Dog? What a beautiful name. This is a 0 cost yellow pitch ally card. Action, cost 3, attack. When this attacks, you may put a yellow card from graveyard on the bottom of its owner's deck. If you do, create a gold token. It's got Watery Grave, it's 4 attack, 4 life. I mean, I like it. We always said the pitch to attack, it's on rate. It's a 1 card 4, in essence, once it's out. And you do get some upside because you can take any yellow card in your graveyard. So if you have the ally card that's there that you want to kind of flow on to create the gold token so you can generate a draw effect, it's not bad. I give it a 3, right? Maybe a 4.
I got a 4 from me. I think the stats are really good, and it costing 0 is really nice.
I do like how the stat or the health is a 4, which is a natural breakpoint. So they're going to have to devote a higher power attack to it, which is not swinging at your face or another ally's face.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like this card quite a lot. I think it is a 4. As mentioned, like Gravy sometimes can be fatigued. So taking some of your yellow cards and putting them on the bottom of your deck is very powerful. Against other Gravies, you can kind of bottom their allies to sort of make things awkward for them. Yeah, overall, just really good.
That's fun.
Jesus,
Yeah,
Seven, I didn't
so
even think
graveyard.
about that, dude.
That's
Talk
fun.
about
Yep.
go fetch, right? That's awesome, man.
Angry Bones. I assume this is
Rainbow.
2 for 6. When this attacks, gotcha. You may discard a card or destroy the top card of your deck. If that card has Watery Grave, this gets +1. Blocks for 3. I guess in the context of Treasure Island, I feel like this is a pretty strong card for Gravy Bones in the sense that you have your compass, you can tell if that top card has Watery Grave, or we mentioned you have an awkward ally in your hand, you can toss this in there, and then you get a 2 for 7. Not the worst thing in the world. So I would say it's somewhere between a 3 and a 4 for me.
That's what I
Probably
had.
closer to a 4, given that I gave all the other ones a 3. So I do like this a little more.
Yep, that's what I had. Yellow, I think, is the worst one by far. I mean, that one's probably a point lower, but blue, I think, is fine. Blue block 3.
Yeah.
Time to be a contrarian. Woohoo!
Here we go.
Yeah. There's a cycle
5.
of this kind of. Well, yeah, Angry Bones, very angry. I love anger. 5 stars. But there's a cycle of this kind of card, which either discards or destroys the top of your deck, and you get a benefit with Watery Grave. And I think all those cards are very powerful. Spoiler alert, I think Angry Bones is the weakest of the cycle. So I think the red and blue are 3s for me, and the yellow's like a high 2, because, it's still a yellow block 3.
Funny, I gave the Angry Bones red a 4, then the blue a 3, yellow a 2. It's a blue block 3, so it's always going to get the 3 in that case. I do like the 7 cost, and it does go toward your game plan. But Gravy Bones is prone to fatigue, as you guys were saying. But that 7 attack in a limited format when you only have 20 life is very strong. So, and it's 2 for 7.
So next up, we got Burly Bones, which is pretty similar. It's a 2 for 6, 3 block. When this attacks, you can discard a card or destroy the top of your deck. And if the card had Watery Grave, then this gets Overpower. So very similar to the last one. As a keyword, I do think overpower is. I would rather have overpower than have the +1, just because, as I said, fatigue is something that you do have to worry about as Gravy Bone. So evasive damage is quite good. That being said, this is like slightly better than Angry Bones. So I think I would give the same sort of score of 3 for both the red and blue, and then like a 2 for the yellow.
That's what I had.
I did the same thing, 4, 3, 2. 4 in red, 3 in blue, 2 in yellow. But close enough. I mean, we're valuing the red higher.
I
It's the same
could
finisher.
I could potentially see the blue being. Oh no, because it'd be a 2 for 4. Yeah, never mind. Move on.
Okay. Next we have Jittery Bones. This is a 0 for 4 damage, 3 block, Pirate Necromancer attack action. When this attacks, you may discard a card or destroy the top card of your deck. If it has Watery Grave, this gets go again. I think this one's very strong. It being a 0 cost 4 is really good. The ability to get go again and still block 3. I think it's doing a lot of stuff that you want.
Yep.
So I gave it the red and blue 4s, but yellow 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is probably my favorite of these sort of discard or destroy the top card of your deck cards. And yeah, because go again, especially the blue one. The blue one's really nice because you discard a Watery Grave card, and then, you swing for 2. The blue card goes to your graveyard, and now you can play the ally and swing with the ally as well. So,
yep, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of liked all these cards. Anything that goes again, so you can actually swing with the ally as a chain ender or turn finisher, is always strong to me, and it does further your game plan. Again, I gave actually all of them 4s across the board. I give the yellow a 3, depending on how you build Gravy Bones. But Restless Bones. This is a 2 cost. It's a rainbow set, so red, yellow, and blue, but this is 2 cost. When this attacks, you may discard a card or destroy the top card of your deck. If that card has Watery Grave, this gets go again. The red is a 6, yellow is a 5, the blue is a 4, and they all block 3. This one, it's okay. I mean, I gotta kind of go ahead and cost out the curve, but 2 cost isn't bad in Gravy Bones. You're going to have a lot of blues. It is a chain extender, like we were saying, but it depends on what allies you group in this. I gave them all 3s because of the 2 costs. Yellow's probably a low 3, maybe a high 2.
I suppose of this and the other 2, I would enjoy having this one in my deck a little more, just because it has the go again, but it still does all the same stuff. But still mostly a 3-ish, 4, low 4 if that.
I agree with you, Ning. I think this is I think the final of the discard or mill from the top cards, and I think this is my second favorite. My first favorite is the 0 for 4.
Yeah.
Go again is a very strong keyword. It's not technically like evasion like overpower, but it does allow you to do like a lot of damage all at once. So sometimes that'll just force leak damage. Not to mention the blue one here. Like, it's a little more awkward because it costs 2, but you can still discard Watery Grave and then play an ally after swinging with this. So, plus 2 for 6 is just not a bad rate, just in general, right?
Yeah.
So 3, 3, 2 for the red, blue, and then yellow for me as well.
Yep. Next, we have another Necromancer ally. This is Barnacle. He's a yellow, cost 2, action, attack, and he is a 4, attack, 3, health. I gave him a 3. I think that the stat line is pretty good, but I do think 3 health is something that can get cleared pretty easy. So you're kind of just looking at like a 2 for 4, which I don't think is bad, but I don't think it's the best ally.
I give this a 3.
I agree with 3. Yeah, I think it's an okay ally. Like, it's sort of the most mid ally there is, in my opinion. So,
Chowder, Hearty Cook. It's a yellow pitch, 3 costs, action, tap, attack, instant, tap, gain 1 life, has Water Grave. It's a 3 attack, 3 life ally. I mean, it's an average card, dude. It's 3. I mean, I love the picture, though. What a little fat bastard he looks like, right? But I'll give it a 3.
You take the sun and you take the moon. You know what I'm saying, fellas? But yeah, I think it's, in my opinion, slightly worse than Barnacle. Not by that much, though. So yeah, I agree on a 3.
Yeah, I would go 3. I maybe like him a little more just because you get to gain the 1 life, like before he dies. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a way to untap allies, maybe he could get some more value, but still like a 3 attack. So it's like Magical Christmas Land. We're not even talking about that, right? So
Yeah, three sounds about right. I do enjoy being able to heal though. That is nice. But again, we talked about this. Health being at 3 just feels bad if you were to summon it. But yeah, all right. Then the next one would be Cutty Shark Quick Clip. Cost 1. As an action, you pay 1 into it, and then it attacks for 3. Or once per turn, you pay into it, and your next ally attack this turn gets +1 go again. I think I like this as a 4. I feel like I like it being a little stronger than the other 2 that we just talked about, mainly because it's pretty versatile. If you have a separate guy that you can buff, then you can do it that way. But otherwise, it has a nice health point at 4, so they would have to try a little harder to kill, and then average hit for 3 if you needed to.
I mean,
Yeah, I give it a 4 as well.
I give it a 4. I mean, the health itself, that 4 health is the reason why.
Yeah, I agree as well. This is essentially like swings for 4, cost 2 resources. Though it has the flexibility of swinging for less, but also costing less. Yeah, the main thing, as you said, Will, 4 health is a nice breakpoint. So, yeah, I think this is one of the better allies. I also like a 4.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it's common too.
So next up we have Rigor Mortis, colloquially known as Morty to the community.
Is it really?
That's so what funny. Justin has been calling it, and I have joined him in it as well.
Amazing.
It is the funniest stuff that Trevor's ever seen. He turned himself into a pickle.
Go on.
It's getting late, guys. Anyway, it's
So
one cost. Hey, you guys are here for the long run.
Yes.
Like, comment, and subscribe for more funny jokes like that.
That's right.
Anyway, 1 cost, 6 power, 1 health. As an action, you can pay a resource, and then you tap and attack. And then it has Watery Grave, of course. It's an ally. This, as well, I think, is one of my favorite allies, too. I think this is a nice 4 as well. Swinging for 6 is such a big number, and the fact that you can play it and swing it off of, like, a yellow card is kind of insane. Like, you're swinging for 6, your opponent still has to kill it. Like, the 1 health, like, very few cards in the set swing for 1 damage, right? So they're definitely going to dedicate more than 1 to this. So, like, the health total, like, it doesn't matter too much. They still have to kill this, but that attack just makes this card, like, super duper strong.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a 4. I mean, that 1 health, I mean, you almost don't care because you're going to cheat value in some ways because you're going to have to overcommit damage to that. Because you said it, not a lot of things attack for 1.
Yeah, I mean, even with the Puffin blunderbuss, you have to give extra resources. It hits for 2, and then you also have to use up a cog just to make that work and still do something else. So, do enjoy it.
Next up, we have Shelly, Hardened Traveler, another ally. This one costs 2, action for 3 resources you can tap to attack. It also has instant tap. The next attack action card you defend with this turn gets +1 defense. I gave this a 4 because they have like kind of a nuts stat line. I feel like 5 is pretty tough to get around, and swinging for 4 is really, really good off a 1 card hand with a blue.
Yeah, I give it a 4 because that instance alone, that's probably one of the more positive instances because that really covers a lot of breakpoints sometimes. So, like if they swing for 4, and a lot of weapons do, a lot of things do. So that +1 isn't not a bad thing. So,
are you ready, guys? I'm gonna be a contrarian again. I think this card's kind of mid. It is really big, which is nice, but swinging for only 4 and also requiring you to like pitch a card for that, Like, I don't think that's ideal. Like, for instance, Scoob, which we saw a while back, it costs 0, and it has basically like the same ability, right? So you're paying like 2 extra resources just for 1 health, right? Part of me thinks, yeah, Scoob is very good, but I think Shelly is okay. I think it is a solid 3 for me, but I think there are better allies that you'd rather play.
I think I might have gave it a 4 because it's hard to remove, right? With that 5 life, and you're talking about removing allies. They have to dedicate something to this, and that +1 against the next action card that defend with. I mean, it helps, especially with some ally cards with the gravy bones. You don't have a lot of block cards. You got to fill it in with allies. So
Yeah, but the issue there is like you can't defend for allies, right? And if they see this, they're gonna attack the ally. So the extra effect, I think, is kind of
mute.
Yeah, it's kind of mute and limited. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I like her.
I think I looked at this, thought it was a 3.
All right. I'll move mine down to a 3, y'all. You convinced me, Evan. Good point. All right. This is Swabby. It's a yellow pitch, 3 cost, action. Pay 2, attack. It's got water grave. It's a 7 attack, 3 life. I like it. I think it's a 4. Because here's the thing. With Gravy Bones, Gravy Bones, you have a lot of blues and yellows. So this fits right along the cost curve if you need to play it and attack that same turn. They have to dedicate a normal attack to it. So I can see why people would say it's a 3. But the 7 attack power is so strong, I give it a 4.
But don't you have to have at least 3 cards to play this and hit for 7? Because you have to play a blue, and then you have to pay for this card. Let's just say it's magically already in the grave, right? So then after that, then you have to pitch another card to swing for 7.
So if it has
Maybe the
water,
ability would let you go card neutral to get a blue into grave.
Oh, yeah. Suppose that's fair.
yeah, I'll say, Ning, I can understand like reservations because this might be like a little too big, but in my opinion, I think this is very strong. I agree with Will. I think this is a 4. I think this is my second favorite ally outside of our favorite little boy Morty. Because what you're saying, Ning, is it costs 3 cards, right? You gotta play a blue, and then you gotta pitch to play him, and then pitch another card to attack for 7 damage. But then you also get 3 health. So technically it's 3 cards for 10, which is a lot of value.
I suppose so.
And then like if they swing for any more than 3, like if they swing for with a 0 for 4, you get an even more value.
Sure.
Plus, like once again, like thinking about fatigue, right? Like fatigue is all like what is the value of your cards, and having a 1 card like 10 is very, very strong in sort of a fatigue oriented game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Oh, hold on, my computer's crashing. But I think I was looking at Headstone. It is a headpiece, blocks for 1, has Battle Worn, which I do like. And then as an instant, destroy the top card of your deck. I guess without necessarily understanding what other options are out there, I would assume this is a solid 3 or 4. I mean, I do like the block Battle Worn situation, and then in a situation where you are unable to get a blue card from your hand to the discard, and you have used Compass to peek that there is a blue there, I guess this is very helpful for that. But aside from that, I don't know how useful this is overall.
I mean, the idea here is you use the Compass, you see like a watery grave card, and then you can put it into your graveyard. Or the other alternative, you see a blue card, you put it into your graveyard, and now you can activate Gravy, right? So I think it's okay. It's kind of context dependent, and
yeah.
So because of that, I'm not like 100% sold on it. That being said, 1 block Battle Worn and then having an additional effect that...
Do you like that?
Yeah, so I definitely give this sort of a low 4. I don't think it's 3 worthy. I think it's good enough to be a 4.
I give it a 4 only because it's a way to filter your deck, and sometimes we all know about bricking and how bad that is. So this could definitely help that out. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
Sounds good.
4 is a fine number for it.
Trevor, did you have a thought on this?
Yeah, no, I think 3 or low 4
Yeah.
like can be a role filler. I think at least one time during the game we'll get to use it to either get a watery grave in, which is ideal, or just use a blue to summon an ally for no cards from hand.
All
Now
right,
we're going to
so
talk about Rangers. Evan, this is your expertise. Why don't you go ahead and read Marlyn for us?
I love Ranger. I love Marlyn, and she is a Pirate Ranger hero. As an action, you can tap her, destroy a gold you control, to create a Goldfin Harpoon in your hand. Go again. And whenever you draw a card during your action phase, you can put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal. So context for people who might not know how Rangers work, they attack with arrow attack actions, and arrows can only be played from arsenal. So the ability to draw a card and then put an arrow into your arsenal, that is a very powerful one. And can we quickly bring up the Goldfin Harpoon? So the Goldfin Harpoon is a 2-attack arrow, so you can only play it from your arsenal. It's technically yellow, though it does not have a pitch value, right? So it being yellow will matter for a couple cards here and there that we'll sort of note later on. But yeah, a 0 for 2, not the greatest attack, but since you're getting it basically for free off of Marlyn's ability, like, this is a very strong card.
And it fixes the main glaring weakness Rangers have. Sometimes they draw all buffs and no arrows, right?
Yeah. An issue Rangers have had in the past is just they don't have an actual weapon, right? So Marlyn technically has a weapon. As long as you have gold, like you can keep swinging this Goldfin Harpoon over and over again. So
In fact, Marlyn has 2 weapons, right?
she
So
does. Trevor, why don't you give this one a read?
Yeah, sure. One of her weapons is Hammerhead Harpoon Cannon. It's Pirate Ranger weapon. It's a bow, but it's also importantly a cannon, which is important for harpoon cards. Its text is action for 4 resources. You can tap it. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +4. If it has harpoon in its name, it also gets overpower. And it has go again.
do you want to talk about this one, or do you want to talk about Red Spine Manta first?
We can talk about this one for a bit, but for people who don't know, most bows put arrows into your arsenal. This one does not, which is very, very strange. So if you're playing this bow, you will need to use other effects in order to load arrows into your arsenal. For instance, Marlyn's ability to, when she draws a card, load a card into your arsenal, right? But that being said, the bow's ability is very, very strong, right? Just paying 4 resources to give a arrow +4, and if it's a harpoon, it gets overpower, which is evasion. Like, this bow is very good, and it will end games.
We were talking about her cannon, but let's talk about the Red Spine Manta. Action, tap, pin an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal. Go again.
Very simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's a basic bow.
Yeah, so this is when playing limited. This is for all you cowards out there who are so afraid of not having a way to load arrows into your arsenal that you would give up the cannon's ability in order to load bows normally. I'm kidding about that. I think both these have applications, though I think for sealed specifically, I think the hammerhead is probably better, because in a fatigue-oriented game, I think having a weapon that gives 4 value and evasion is very good.
Yeah.
Though if you do play this, you have to be very, very careful about having ways to get arrows into your arsenal.
And spoiler alert, her cost curve 4 plus 2 is 2 blues, which is what she really wants to see when you're using the harpoon cannon. Not to steal anyone's thunder, I just wanted to point that out for our listeners. Speaking of,
So our first majestic harpoon attack is King Kraken Harpoon. Costs 2 to hit for 6. Has a new keyword called Go Fish. So when this hits a hero, they choose and reveal a card from their hand. If it's a non-attack action card, they discard it and you create a gold token. However, if you've activated a cannon this turn, instead you get to look at their hand and choose the card. Uh, Assuming you're using the hammerhead, the harpoon cannon, I would assume this is a 6 or a 5. Sorry.
It is
I
a
mean-
6. It does swing for 6.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a 5 straight through, guys.
Yeah, there are things to note. Definitely be careful. If you play against Gravy, you can accidentally have them discard allies, which is something that they want. But yeah, the effect is very strong. And if you are playing this, definitely lean heavier towards the cannon builds, right? So next up, we got the King Shark Harpoon, a very similar card, 2 for 6, 3 block. Go fish. When it hits a hero, they choose and reveal a card from their hand. If it's an attack action, they discard it, and you create a gold. And once again, if you activated a cannon this turn, you get to choose. Also, probably a powerful card, probably a 5. This one I would argue is actually better because there are definitely more attack actions, I would say, than non-attack actions in this set.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely grabbing one is very strong.
Yeah, no, I agree.
5, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All right. Next, we have Big Game Trophy Shot. It's a yellow 2 cost. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +4. If it has Harpoon in its name, it gets, when this hits a hero, create a gold token. And then it also has draw a card, then discard a card, and go again. I think this is very strong. I think it's a pretty good buff. It can load off of Marlynn and with the drawing and discarding. And then giving a Harpoon on hit create a gold is really good. I give it a 4, but I could see it being a 5.
I gave it a 4. All right, because it's still a little awkward. You have to pitch pretty much to get the effect, and if you hit it, it's great, but it's still awkward. So to follow along,
I would
the
argue
lines-
it's a 5 in my opinion. And I think one thing to note is when you use Marlynn's ability to create the Goldfin Harpoon, that's a card in your hand,
That's
and
right.
you can actually discard it.
Yeah.
So if you play this and you create the Goldfin Harpoon in hand with your excess gold, the text becomes, instead of draw and discard, it's just draw a card, right?
Yeah.
So +4, draw a card on hit gold, and with the draw you get to reload. Like, I think this is doing everything Marlynn wants, and I think it is quite powerful.
You know, I forgot about the gold harpoon. Yeah, I'll change it to a 5. All right.
So
gold-
then, does this effectively just become a 2 for 6 that if you hit a hero, it creates a gold token?
and draw a
Is
card.
that what we're saying?
2 for 6.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that if you,
At worst, I suppose.
yeah, at worst, because you can actually play
And,
with
and
the
then you can,
harpoon.
yeah. And then I guess if you have two blues, then you can pitch all that into the hammerhead as well to give it a 10 overpower, get more gold. Yeah. I gotcha.
Man, I'm thinking of like a Marlin, man. Phew. All right, gold the tip. 0 cost, yellow pitch. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +3. If there is a yellow arrow face up in your arsenal, create a gold token. This has go again. It's a 2 block. I mean, it's online with every other ranger buff I see out there with the little upside of creating gold instead of the on-hit effects it usually has. I give it a 3. You know, it might be a 4, but let's say in the context of limited, I mean, I think I am going to go a 3 because of the 2 block, but it's +3. So, Evan,
I
I'm
guess
curious
how
about your thought.
how many yellow arrows are you really running aside from the harpoon that you create from your ability to be
Yeah.
able to proc this?
Yeah. I do think, yellow arrows are not great, so you probably shouldn't add them to your deck. So probably, for the most part, it should just be the Goldfin Harpoon.
Hmm.
I like this card
Mhm.
quite a lot. Like, +3 is a big buff. Like, I think, like, most red +3 cards, I would probably give a 4. And this one is a yellow +3, which is quite good. That being said, being
Mhm.
yellow, in my opinion, doesn't make it so much better that I'd be willing to give this a 5. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think the effect is strong enough. I would definitely give it a 4.
Even with the 2 block, Evan? I know that's online with a lot of the ranger buffs, but
Yeah, I think all ranger buffs basically are 0 +3 2 blocks, and yeah, I think they're all quite strong. So I would definitely argue that this is equally strong.
yeah.
I think we can review the next three together because it's just
Yep.
blue, red, yellow.
So we're talking about bluefin harpoon, redfin harpoon, yellowfin harpoon. They're all blue cost or blue pitch. Go ahead, Nick.
Sure. So they're all three cards are blues. So pitch for 3, cost 2, hits for 4, blocks 3. And then they all say go fish. When this hits a hero, they choose and reveal a card from their hand. If it's for this one blue, if it's blue, they discard it. You create a gold token. If you've activated a cannon, you get to look at their hand and you choose the card. And so there are also the red fin and yellow fin counterpart that instead of blue to trigger the gold token creation, if it's a red, they discard, you create a gold token for the red and yellow for the yellow.
So you're saying the
I
target is in its name. So bluefin,
Yeah.
it targets blue. Redfin's targets red. Makes sense.
Crazy how it works
Yep,
like
yep.
that.
I think that I would assume this is pretty good as far as all. I mean, it has the harpoon wording in it, and it's disruption, and pitches and blocks 3. I think overall it's 4 depending on the colors.
I mean, honestly, I kind of give it a 5 personally because you're reading
5.
this as a 4 attack. I'm reading it as an 8 attack with overpower, right? Because with 2 blues, you're getting this off. But I don't know. I could be wrong. It seems like you're stacking your deck with a lot of blues. This goes into Marlynn's game plan of having a lot of blues, and it has a lot of upside with the Hammerhead Harpoon Cannon.
They're a bit awkward just because, yeah, they're 2 costs and they're blue, right? Like, usually you're not super happy with swinging with blues, but these are powerful enough. I think you're decently happy to swing with them. I would definitely give all 3 of them 4. I would argue that the blue one's probably the best, the red one's probably the next best, and the yellow is the worst, but I think they're all very powerful. So
Yeah, I would say the yellow is probably a 4 to me. But Trevor, did you have a thought before we move on?
Yeah, I think yellow is maybe a 3 for me. I just don't like that. I don't know.
Before. That's some surgical extraction nonsense, tell you what.
yeah, pretty much. Next up, we got the Rusty Harpoon, which is a blue 0 cost. Swings for 1, blocks for 3. This is a 5. Oh my god, I cannot believe they printed a card this powerful.
He's being sarcastic, fellas.
Guys, this arrow sucks. This arrow is worse than the Goldfin Harpoon.
But Evan, it's a blue block 3.
It's a blue block 3, so it gets a 3.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we got Patch the Hole. This is a Ranger head equipment. Blocks for 0, and it has instant destroy this. Return a card from your arsenal to your hand. I gave it a 2. I don't know. I think like if you had nothing else to run, you would run this, but just not blocking it seems bad to me. And then I don't know. It doesn't seem like that good of an ability.
I give it a 2, man. I would rather play Bunker Beard than this bullshit.
Damn, fellas. You guys are not true Ranger players, it seems.
Evan,
This in my opinion...
This lets you fix your hand, right?
Yeah, this in my
fix your
opinion
arsenal.
is a 4.
Really?
Yeah. Because the idea here, Ning's right. Like, let's say you have a card in Arsenal, and let's say it's an attack action without go again, right? Let's say like a 3 for 7, right? You draw your hand, you have some strong arrows, you have some arrow buffs you want to play. But now you can't because your arsenal is full, right? So Patch the Hole, like, it has many different modes where, for one, if you have something in your arsenal you don't want to be there, you can take it out in order to play the arrows that you do want to play. Number 2, it allows you to arsenal anything you want, right? Like, often enough, you don't arsenal bad blue cards because, like, then you have to play them. But if you arsenal a blue card, you can Patch the Hole to, like, put it into your hand, and now you have an extra pitch card to use, right?
Okay.
Like, it's not super powerful, but I could see it, like, ironing out, like, extremely awkward hands that Marlynn has. So I think as, like, a nice glue piece, I think it's a 4.
Interesting.
Yeah, if this was a card that I could use in Azuri, I'd give this a 5. But alas, here we are.
I mean, honestly, to our viewers that are still with us, like, thank you for staying around. But Evan will definitely take priority on this rating because he does play Ranger as his main. All right, this is Glidewell Fins. Action. Pay 1 resource, destroy this. Pin an arrow from your hand face up in your arsenal. It gets +1 this turn. Go again. It is battle worn. It is 1 defense. And honestly, it has all the stuff I like. It's 1 defense, it's battle worn. It kind of fixes stuff that you need it to fix, and it buffs. I give this a 5.
I would assume this is a 5.
I agree with that. Yeah, this is like your bread and butter equipment. Like, it's very, very powerful. If you run the cannon, for instance, you have no gold, you have no way to load an arrow. This is the alternative that you use.
Yep. No, I agree.
Sounds good. We have finally left the Pirate Rangers and gone back to just Rangers. So this is Barbed Barrage, 1 for 5. As an additional cost to play this, you may pay 3. If you do, this attacks an additional target, then it blocks for 3. I assume this is a very good card.
Ning, I'm going to
especially
interrupt you
against-
for a second. I want people that are watching the YouTube video to look at Evan's face right now. It's like a damn cat ate a canary. Please continue. Ning, please continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
specifically for a situation where you're either playing against Prism or Necromancer perhaps to help clear the board, or darn Spectras. But I think aside from that, it's just a 1 for 5. So why need it? But I don't know. Yeah.
I think this card has the longest rules text there is, and I forget if you can do this or not, but you can, in my opinion, because I would let it happen. You can pay 3 to swing at your opponent, then pay the additional 3 to swing at yourself, and that's really strong. You're paying 4 resources to swing 5 damage at yourself.
Pretty good.
But legitimately, if you're not playing against Gravy, this is a 1 for 5. Which is not great. Like, I would probably argue that's maybe like a 3. If you are playing against Gravy, then like it gets significantly better if the Gravy has an ally out when you draw it. The issue is, as a Ranger, like, most heroes, you're allowed to tuck cards into your arsenal and save them for like when you really need them. But as a Ranger, you need that arsenal to be empty so you can put an arrow into it. So even against like the deck it's meant for, it can still whiff, right? And because of that, like, I don't know, this is a 1 for 5 arrow with text that matters very rarely. I would argue that makes it like low 3, maybe a 2, probably low 3.
Yeah. I gave it a 3 in sealed, but in constructed for your sideboard, we're not talking about it, but I definitely gave it a higher, because it's a tool, right? It's a tool for your toolkit.
As an Azalea main who runs like 3 blues, I definitely did not give it a higher score in constructed.
Okay.
Anyway, next up we've got Return Fire, which is a Ranger block that blocks for 4. And when this defends, you may banish an arrow from your hand. And if you do, at the start of your next turn, you can put that arrow face up into your arsenal, and it gets +3 until end of turn.
Yeah.
Now, many people have been talking about this. I think it is a bit of a trap in constructed. That being said, luckily for you guys, we're talking about limited, and in limited, it's crazy. Yeah, just 4 block in general is really good. And so, like, even if you don't get the additional effect, I would already say, like, this is a very good card. And just, like, the chance to get +3, which in limited is, like, not that unheard of. 0 for 7. That's insane. This is a 5 through and through.
Yeah, 5 for me.
I mean, it's a 1-card 7. It's
Especially 5. It works very well with Patch the Hole, too.
It does,
If you
right.
somehow end up with a Return Fire in your arsenal, you're like, aha, I gotcha.
But to go back, even if you're stuck with a golden harpoon, which is not something you want to be in, it does kind of fix that too. It makes it hit a little harder too. I mean, but even still, it's a 1-card 7. So in essence, All right, this is sorry, Trevor. I think it was your turn, sir.
Oh yeah. This is Drop the Anchor. It's a 0-cost red Ranger action, blocks 2. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +3, and when this hits your hero, tap them and all allies it control. I think this is a 4, like a pretty strong 4. I think the on hit's really good, and then a buff 0 for 3 is also very strong.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. The ability is extremely strong. It's basically turning off half of your opponent's abilities, like no matter what. And if they have allies, like you can safely ignore allies for a turn and go phase. So I like this a lot. I would also say 4.
0 cost +3 with on-hit effects, so yeah, I'll get it a 4. Fire in the Hole. It's a 0 cost red pitch. Your next arrow attack gets +3. You may untap a bow you control. It has go again. It's 2 block. At minimum, it's a 3. I'm actually curious because I don't think you could get the cannon off multiple turns in a row, so you're really pairing this with Red Spine. Honestly, it's a +3 still, but out of all the ones you have, I think this is the weakest buff so far. I give it a 3.
How many go-agains can you realistically give your arrows, though, in sealed?
Now, spoilers, there is an arrow that has go again naturally. So it's pretty good there, but the context is very tight, right? Like you need the go again arrow and you need to have another arrow in hand in order to get any value out of this. Flip side, you need 8 resources in order to activate the cannon twice, including having an arrow in your arsenal and like being able to pay for that arrow. So I agree, Fire in the Hole, it's kind of copium to think that the untap effect is going to matter most of the time.
Yeah.
I think it is the worst of the buffs we've seen so far. That being said, I have mentioned before, I think all red arrow buffs are 4s in my opinion. So I would definitely say this is a 4. Though
You would still give this one a 4?
I would, yeah.
Oh, Evan,
arrow buffs are very strong.
Yeah, okay. I say in that. I mean, you are the Zelia main, but I still think you're smoking monkey powder.
I am a bit biased.
Is that me? Monkey powder cost 3. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +1 and overpower, and you get to draw a card, and it blocks 2. I would assume this is very strong, potentially a 4. I mean, it has the +1, which is mediocre, gives overpower, which is mediocre, but we were talking about earlier that with the cannon, you have to figure out ways to get arrows into your arsenal, and this seemingly is a pretty good way to do so, but it does cost 3, so I don't know. Maybe that's a copium in its own right.
I do love myself some monkey powder, but...
Interesting.
Oh, no, I just meant in general.
You like the...
You're talking about this card? Sorry, this card's kind of mid. I kind of agree with you, Ning, where a lot of it looks pretty good, but everything just is a bit too low impact. Like, +1 and overpower, like, that's okay. It can close out games, but, like, in the early turns, it's like, you know, that's not... I'd rather just have, like, a +3 buff on this. So, yeah, I think it's a bit mid 3 for me.
Honestly, I give it a 2.
I guess the idea with overpower is you'd want to have some relevant on-hit effect, but for you to get good on-hit effects, you also need to activate your cannon, and so I feel like it just costs way too much to be able to do.
Yeah, the only on-hit effects in the set, like the only negative on-hit effects are the harpoons that we've already seen. Regular ranger cards, there's no on-hits, outside of course, making the gold off Treasure Island, so...
Well, I also like to call your attention to the redundancy of that card versus the Hammerhead Harpoon Cannon. Because Monkey Powder gives you double overpower. That's not going to help you. It's a +1. You're going to spend 2 cards to get a +1 plus a redundant overpower. I give it a 2. Right? I don't think you really want to see this card. But if you're playing Red Spine, I'll move it up to a 3 because it does have that evasion that Evan likes so much. But that's my personal opinion.
Harpoons are a bit tough to come by, so I still think it's a good enough to be a 3. Plus, like, the on-hit of getting gold, like, the evasion is pretty useful.
Right, with the Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
We want to do these next 3 together.
Yeah, let's do these next 3 together.
So what are they?
Hook, line, and sinker, baby.
Love the name. LSS, you are on point. Jesus.
So I'll read Hook, and the other 2 I already know sort of what they do, so I can just sort of... all of the viewers out there probably know this pattern by now, but this one is, look at the top card of your deck. If it's an arrow, you may put it face up into your arsenal. If you do, it gets +1 this turn. And the other 2, I believe, are Go Again and Overpower. So yeah, this is line is the overpower, and sinker is line is go again, sinker is overpower. And I am not the biggest fan of these effects. Unlike Gravy Bones, Marlynn doesn't have that many great ways to look at the top of her deck. And even if she has a couple ways to do it, it's, in my opinion, not really like on occasion these will be okay, but like it's not that good, even when you get it off. It's only kind of, hey, this is okay. Yeah. So because of that, yeah, I think these are all threes because they're blue block threes.
Exactly what I had.
I would say
I feel like it's irrelevant, basically.
Yeah.
I would say 3 for the rating, but honestly, look at the art. If you guys are listening at home, looking at the video, pay attention to it because it is 3 pieces of art that actually tells a story, and I love that. Right? So
it's pretty fun.
I want to line them up so bad in person to get the whole.
Yes,
yes,
Trevor.
But then it becomes hook, sinker, line, and
they fumbled there. I don't know what
that's true.
That was crazy.
No, it's pretty cool. I think Trevor and I prefer the art of lubricate, but it's a close second.
Sure.
Gotta get my extended art lubricate.
Yo.
This next. Oh, I'm sorry, is it me?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
This is dry powder shot. This is another ranger arrow attack. Blocks 3, costs 0. It's a red. When this is put face up into your arsenal, it gets +2 for the turn. I feel like it's very, very strong. I think this is a pretty solid 4 for me.
I agree with that.
Big stats.
Yeah. 0 for 5. Crazy.
Yeah.
And
we've talked about 0 for 4s being quite good. This is literally a 0 for 5. Like, that's just better.
Yeah, 100%. And I would like to point out that Trevor covered lubricate. Now he's covering dry powder shot. There might be some kind of, correlation in there. All right.
Who can say?
All right, I'm covering entangling shot. This is 0 cost red card. When this is put up face up in your arsenal, you may tap a target hero. It's a 4 attack, 3 block. Honestly, it's a 0 for 4. I give it a 4, right? Because it has some relevant on hit. It's not nothing, and it's still a 0 for 4.
It's not even an on hit. It's when you put it into arsenal.
It's really good because you just get to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy.
You think it's a 5, but I think it's a 4 because, again, people can still play without the hero power. So it's not as strong, but I think it's still good. So.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a 5, but it's a very solid 4 for me.
I agree with that, Trevor. Yeah.
Next one is meddling shot. It's the same thing, but you get to tap a target ally instead. I would say it's probably a 3 or 4, depending on what's on the board and obviously who you're playing against. So.
Yeah, I would agree with 3. Just remember what I said about that one majestic. Just look over what I said there, and there you go. Same deal.
I think it's a 3.
All right.
Next up, we got scouting shots. 0 for 4, 3 block. Whenever it is put face up into your arsenal, you may look at the top card of your deck. So, very good with hook, line, and sinker, except it's not because you already have an arrow in your arsenal. To be honest, the effect is kind of weak. It works with certain cards like Murderous Rabble and Ravenous Rabble that we will talk about later, but because there's no manipulation, right? It's not opting one, you're just looking. Like, it's kind of a nothing effect for the most part, since you're about to swing with this anyway, so very context sensitive, and because of that, I think this is another 3, probably the least good arrow we've seen so far.
Now we have Swift Shot, another arrow attack. It's a 0 for 4 block 3. When this is put into your arsenal, or face up into your arsenal, it gets go again for the turn. Very strong, I feel. I think this is easy 5. It's a 5 in CC. It's good. It's very good.
It's not guaranteed 4 go again. This is what people dream of with Ravenous Rabble.
Yeah.
Spoilers, guys. I'm bringing it to nationals.
I mean, even in CC, this card is going to make Azalea so much better in some ways, right? Don't you think, Evan? I mean, side point, but...
Oh, yeah. Azalea got very little, but that is one of the few cards she did get, which I'm happy about.
All right, let's talk about the Rainbow Headshot. This is red, yellow, and blue. It's 1 cost. We're going to talk about the red first. When this is face up in the arsenal, it gets +2 in this turn. This is a 4 attack, 3 block. Technically, if you do it face up in your arsenal this turn, it gets to be a 6. It's an arrow attack. I give it a 4. I think the red is definitely a 4 because it's a 1/6 and it's an arrow, so you have a lot of the buffs. Yellow is probably a 3, and I'll say the blue, you might see some value in sealed, so I'll give that a 4 as well.
I agree with that sentiment. I think
Sure. Yeah.
headshot is like the strongest arrow, like by itself in this format.
Hmm.
So because of that, I do think the red one is kind of a nice one you wanna be looking at.
A salvage shot, rainbow, red, 1 for 5, blocks 3, one hits, put it on the bottom of the owner's deck. I don't know how bad the fatigue situation happens with Marlin, but feels like that's a problem in this set, and therefore it's a 1 for 5, has a relatively relevant hit effect. So maybe a 3/4.
I think I like threes for like sort of across the board, honestly. Like even the yellow is probably like a low 3. Like I think the effect is quite good, and your opponent definitely has to think about it. Like they might just block it for the effect. But the effect isn't so good that I'd give it a 4. So
Yeah.
yeah.
This is one of
sense.
those rare cases where I give the red and yellow kind of like the red is definitely a 4, and I value the yellow higher because it's at the break point. It's still a blue block 3, so I think you're right. They're all good cards because it's going to prevent that fatigue if you get to that point. It's going to make your opponent question should they block this card fully or not. So
Next we got the Sikkim shot. 1 for 4, 3 block. Yeah, not as good as Swift Shot because this one costs 1. It just has naturally go again, so it's a good arsenal target. But to be honest, I'm not very high on them. I think red and blue are probably 3s. They're kind of
Yeah.
mid. I think yellow is probably like a 2.
yeah, I agree with that.
Sense.
All right. Calling the big guns. This is a red 0 cost. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +3. You may put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal. Go again. Red is a 5 for me. I think it's very, very strong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you think
Sounds
about
about right.
like the cannon stuff, like this is a way to load into arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very good.
And then I think like yellow and blue are still playable just because they let you load and they do the buff, but probably low.
Yeah, yellow's probably like a 3. Blue's probably also like a 3. But
Yeah.
red, I do agree on like a 5.
I had a 5/3/3 for this. So this is one of the only times where because the blue is only a 2 block, is not that great, but the red is definitely fantastic. It's on rate.
That's good.
We get to Scurv. Does he have a weapon? He just has the pet, right?
Technically, yeah, he has the ally.
Okay. Alright, y'all. We're talking about Scurv. Stowaway. Action. Tap this bastard. Destroy a gold you control. Create a gold kissed rum token. Go again. Whenever you activate a gold kissed rum, gain 1 health. He's your basic hero package with 4 intellect and 20 health. This guy was snuck in, and no one knew he existed until the actual world premiere. Fantastic. Let's cover Gold Kiss Rum real quick, and then that way we could see how good his ability actually is.
Oh, that's on me. Gold Kiss Rum token that says, as an instant, tap your hero and destroy this. Your next action this turn gets go again. Your hero can't untap this turn unless they're a pirate. So this effectively just lets you give your next attacks go again or whatnot. And then I guess with Scurv, whenever he uses this, he just automatically gains 1 resource. Feels pretty strong to me. Being able to give your next attack go again, plus you get a resource out of it for free. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
And I think I said life, but yeah, Nate, thank you for correcting me. It is a resource. Honestly, it's not attack action, it's action. So that's even stronger, right? Because it covers a lot of the action cards out there. Right?
Yeah, to note that it does require you to tap your hero. So, for instance, Scurv, to make the rum, taps his hero. So you can't then use the rum right after you've made it, right? You gotta wait a turn. Enjoying your drink there, Will?
I love it.
Enjoying your Gold Kiss rum?
You know, I only wish I could have painted the bottle a little bit of gold, right? He doesn't have a weapon, though, so let's bring up his good old ally.
So yeah, this is his little ally, Sticky Fingers. And he is a Scurv companion, meaning only Scurv can use him. Offhand ally. He's got the ability Perched, which means he can be equipped in addition to another weapon. That won't matter because unfortunately Scurv does not have another weapon. As an action, you can attack, and if it is equipped, you can unequip it. To note, when the ally is perched, you cannot attack it, so you can only begin attacking this ally once this ability has been used. And when this attacks a hero, steal a gold token they control. Swings for 2 and has 2 health. So yeah, this is really strong. Like, we talked about how allies in Gravy Bones are kill on sight. This is also kill on sight, except you just kind of get it naturally for free.
Yeah, I gave this a 4
Cross
because it
and
is
nothing.
easily, yeah, it's easily removable. It is his weapon, which he could destroy the weapon, technically. I mean, it's not a weapon, it's the ally. But once he uses it, then it's all game on the board. So
Very strong.
So now we are done with Scurv stuff, so we're on to the regular pirate stuff, if you want to get started with this, Trevor.
Yeah, my bad. This is a pirate equipment headpiece that blocks for 1, the blue sea tricorn. It has action for 3 resources. You can destroy it to draw a card, go again, and it's Blade Break. I have it as a 3 because it has Blade Break 1.
yeah,
But I don't. I mean, the ability could matter, but I think it's really just going to be an extra life in most games.
Yeah. In Marlynn, it could be important with the cannon, but
Yeah, that's true.
I do agree that, like, I think this is 1 health for the most part.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
between
either way. For Will, you can go.
all right, I mean, I figure between blue sea tricorn and patch the hole. If you have the patch the hole as an option, you choose that anyways based off what Evan's feedback was, and then this would kind of fall to the wayside. So I'll give this a 3.
I
Yep.
agree.
Yep. Sounds good.
This is Buccaneer's Bounty. Action. Destroy this. Gain 1 resource. Go again. Blade Break. It is blocked for 1. I give it a 3. It's strong. I think in the right context, that 1 resource could actually help. But again, it is an enabler. What else to say about this?
I would argue this is
Yeah,
greater than 3. I think this is a 4.
Yeah,
This is a
I give it
very
a 4
strong
as
piece
well.
of equipment. One thing to know, I do agree, spoiler alert, most of the pirate equipment is, they have abilities which you, for the most part, should not care about. You just want to block for 1. This is the only one where I think the ability is more powerful than the 1 block.
Yeah.
Gaining a resource is very good. So
Well,
It's
I would
just
argue
unconditional.
that. Go ahead, Trevor. I'm sorry.
No, it's just very powerful because it's unconditional as well.
I get that getting the resource is very valuable, and in CC we see this as an aggressive move, like you pop the resource and attack out. But we're playing in a slower format, so that's why I gave it a 3. But you guys convinced me I was wrong before. I can see myself being wrong about this as well.
Looks good. Fish fingers. Action. 1 resource. Destroy this. Your next attack this turn gets +1. Go again. It also has Blade Break. 1 block. I don't know. I think it's just basically a generic arm piece +1. I think it's a 3. Granted, I don't really know what else is out there, but
Yeah. You run it if you have nothing else. For sure.
yeah.
And you're happy.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
tell
I
you.
agree.
I'll tell you a quick story real quick, and I'll make this super quick. My brother would look at this card and he'll say, "Man, I should call her."
Oh my lord. Why are you like this?
And on we go
Next-
with the review.
Get on with your peg leg self.
I don't know why it's not clicking over, guys. I think my joke was so bad it destroyed it.
All right. Well, joke was so bad. Time for the peg leg. So this is a pirate equipment leg, 1 block, Blade Break, action, 3 resources. You destroy it, and your next attack this turn gains go again. The effect is, it's okay. Like, if your opponent gave you like a big 5-card hand, I could see you using the effect. But spoiler alert, I think it is mainly 1 block, so I'd give it a 3. It's on the higher end though. I think.
Yeah.
We finished the cycle of equipment. The chest is the best. This is the next best. So
Yeah. I would say conditional go again is super strong. So I gave this a little bit higher than the chest, but I can see where you'd rate the chest higher.
All right. Next, we have Conquer of the High Seas. It's a red, cost 4, 7 attack for 3 block. When this hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. Create a gold token for each card destroyed this way. And then we have the High Tide keyword, I think, for the first time, where this is if there's more than 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone, then it gets some bonus effect. This one gets +1 and go again. This is easy 5. It's the only arsenal disruption in the set, I think, and it's 8 go again. It's kind of insane.
If you're a pirate, you're running this. I'm sorry. I mean, you might want to stock them up when they're cheap.
Yeah, spoiler
Mhm,
alert, every
mhm.
hero in the set is a pirate, so every hero wants this. Easy 5.
Easy 5.
Yep.
This is Loan Shark. It's a yellow pitch, 0 cost, go again. When this enters the arena, create 2 gold tokens. At the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't created or stolen a gold this turn, destroy this, then lose 2 life unless you discard a card. I like this card. I think it's a 4. Right? Now, most people might disagree, but it is still a yellow pitch, 3 block. The 2 gold tokens could be a relative generator, so, and you're pretty much saying, I'm going to pay 2 life to create 2 gold tokens. Might not be that bad, right?
See, Will, and you might have, spoiler alert based on my reaction, but I think this card is a 2.
Interesting.
I think it is a 2 because it is a yellow block 3. And yeah, so I actually like this card a lot in Constructed, but in Limited, with the Treasure Island, like, I think heroes will get to the point where gold doesn't matter anymore. Like, if you get a stack of, like, 4 gold, you don't really need too much more. And even still, like, why play Lone Shark when you can play an attack that swings for, let's say, 7, and on hit creates a gold from the Treasure Island, right? So I'm pretty low on this card.
My thought was, the reason why I give it a 3 is because it's still yellow, and sometimes the yellow does matter. But the 2 gold tokens, every time you pitch a blue, you could draw a card and have 1 resource floating. And that's not nothing. All right, that's kind of my thought on it. But I could be biased. What does the rest of the team think?
Higher in Gravy Bones?
Yeah, I like it in gravy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you see it early, I think it's really good, and then later it blocks
Mhm.
3. So I think it's like fine. I gave it a 3, but kind of like a high 3.
So 3 in Gravy Bones,
Yeah.
low 3 in everything else, maybe a 2 to this point. Is that what we're agreeing?
I think I like it. Sounds good. Tip the Barkeep. So it's a blue, 0 cost. Create a Gold Kiss Rum token. You may give a gold token you control to another hero. If you do, put this on the bottom of its owner's deck. Go again. Blocks 3. I would assume this is a 4, just because it can give you that magical go again rum just for playing it. Especially good in Gravy Bones, because then you can play it as a blue for his whole thing, and then give his actions go again, and then if he needs to use the rum that turn, you can give that go again, and suddenly you probably have a relatively big turn. But worst case scenario, it's 3 blue, a blue 3 block.
Yeah.
I agree with this sentiment. This is really strong. Part of me is tempted to give it a 5. I don't think it's quite a 5 yet. I agree with 4. Gold Kiss Rum is kind of insane, as we talked about with Scurv. Yeah. So just a blue block 3 that just gives you 1. Very good.
Yeah. And it does have recursion.
Next up, we got Sunken Treasure, which is a pirate block, blue block 3. When this defends, you may turn a card in a graveyard face down. If it's yellow, you create a gold token. This one's kind of tough to evaluate. I think it's like a 4. Like, it's very good against Gravy Bones. Like, sometimes you might just win a game straight up because you turned their ally face down with this. But yeah, overall, like a blue block 3, it's a block card, so it's good against like Overpower, for instance. And as long as there's a yellow in the graveyard, even in your graveyard, you just turn it face down, you get a gold. I like that a lot.
I gave it a 5. I really like it.
I would have given it a 5 too. I think I like it because, I mean, worst case you screw up Gravy's plan or whatever, but or best case rather, but worst case you still get to turn over one of yours if it doesn't matter. Like for Puffin, you have some random yellow and you do that, and then you create a gold token, then you can do your whole golden cogs and whatnot.
Maybe. I think the issue there is when there's a lot of yellows in the graveyard for you to turn face down, that sort of indicates to me that it's later in the game, in which case you should have gold from Treasure Island, right? So the gold is really good in constructed, but since it's readily flowing in limited, I'm a little lower on it, so that's why I gave it a 4.
That's fair. Actually, that's a good point.
I actually gave it a 4
Fair enough.
because I didn't really think it was as great as a power enabler. It's a still a block. It's a 3 block. You get the gold. I just don't see it being so strong. It can disrupt, but again, like the only one it really is good against is Gravy Bones, and everything else is you might have some plus upside. So
I think we could do these next 3 all together.
you want to say what they are? Barracuda.
Yeah. So this is kind of a set. The HMS Barracuda, the Kraken, and Marlynn. They're all yellow cost 4 to swing with. They attack for 6 and block 3, and they have High Tide. If there are 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone, this gets +1 in overpower, and then each of them has a unique effect. The Barracuda destroys an ally when it hits. The Kraken destroys an item they control, and the Marlin will destroy the top card of their deck. I think they're all pretty good. I think that the overpower and +1 is nice as a finisher in the end of the game. They're yellow, so they're not too bad to pitch to get them there. And then, yeah, I think the on hits aren't really the best. I think like they're pretty situational. The item one I think is the best with the Kraken.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other two I'm not high on those. I gave them all 4s, with maybe the Kraken being a little bit better.
I would
I agree
argue,
with that.
because I agree that they're all 4s, I would argue that the one that destroys the top card of your opponent's deck is the best. And this is just me. I do play Fatigue a lot in Limited, so I think the ability to have overpower evasive damage and destroy the top card of your opponent's deck is very, very good.
Pretty good.
But
That's fair.
yeah, all 4s in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say all 4s with Marlin being the strongest.
Yep.
For the same reason that Evan says. This is, you got 30 cards exact. If you destroy a card on their deck, it might hurt, and it might hurt real bad. So let's talk about Murderous Rabble. This is a blue pitch, 0 cost. When this attacks, reveal the top card of your deck. This gets +X power, where X is the pitch value of the card revealed this way. It has go again. It's a 0 attack, 3 block. Honestly, as what I'm seeing face value, 0 block 3, I'll give it a 3. I don't really think this is anything worth writing home about. But at a bare minimum, it's definitely better than the lowest cards out there.
I would definitely argue it's better than a 3. Like, for instance, in Gravy, you always know what's on top of your deck. So, like, if there's a blue, this is a 0 for 3 go again, 3 block as a blue. And swinging for 3 with go again as a blue is kind of insane. Like, that is a really good rate. And even in the other decks, like, for instance, if you keep pitching this, because it is a blue, like, late game, like, the rest of your deck is, like, going to be all blues, right? So, like, even if you don't know the top of your deck, you can still pretty consistently get this to swing for 3 with go again, right? And because of that,
That makes sense.
I wouldn't say it's a 5, but I think it is quite strong. I would say it's a 4 for me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, we gave it a 4.
Yeah, somewhere between a 3 and a 4. I think for all the reasons I'm out. No, I think everything Evan said makes sense. All right, so the next one, Pilfer the Wreck. It's a 3 for 7, blocks 2. When this hits a hero, you may turn a card in their graveyard face down. If it's yellow, create a gold token. I don't know. I think it's fine. Blocks only for 2. 3 for 7, I suppose, is strong. We'll just say it's 3 red, and then everything after that's probably 2.
That's what I got.
It's very strong into Gravy.
Yeah, I agree.
But
It's pretty
I'll
strong
tell you
into
that.
Gravy. But yeah, I do think the red is definitely a 3. I'd say it's like mid to high 3, and then the other 2 are definitely 2s. So
Yeah, I agree. It's a rainbow, and I think it's 3, then 2/2/2. 2/2.
So next up, we got the Saltwater Swell, which is a 1 cost, 3 attack, 3 block go again. With when this attacks, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's blue, you get to pitch it. And that's kind of an insane effect, right? Because
Yes.
if the top card of your deck is blue, this goes from a 1 for 3 to essentially just giving you what, 2 resources, right? You pay 1, you get 3 resources, so you net. It's a card that says gain 2 resources, swing for 3, go again, right? That's very, very strong. Not to mention it blocks for 3 as well, which is also insane. So unfortunately, like, I think outside of Gravy, as mentioned, like, knowing the top of your deck sometimes is a bit curious. And also having stuff to do with the pitch cards, like, sometimes you just can't really use the pitch cards too terribly well. But I think the red and the blue are both 4s, especially for Gravy for the blue, because then you can use it to play your Watery Grave cards, and if it gains you extra resources too, like, you can play some of the bigger ones, like, off a pretty small hand. So I would say 4s for those 2, and then maybe like maybe a low 3 for the yellow. Like, I still think the yellow's okay.
I
Yeah, I
agree with
really
that
like
for
it in
Gravy
Gravy.
Bones. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I really like it in Gravy, but I still think other heroes will run it just because it's 3 go again, and that'll help clear allies.
Yeah, 3 go again, 3 block is just good. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give the same exact score as Evan did, except I'll drop it down 1 point for the other heroes, like in Gravy Bones. I think it's definitely strong, and the other heroes not as strong because of the reasons. Because he really needs the additional, but it is an attack card that does have go again. So
Next we have Divvy Up. This is a blue, cost 0, 3 block, pirate action. Remove half the gold counters from Treasure Island, rounded up. If you are a thief, instead remove all of them. Create gold tokens equal to the number of gold counters removed this way. Being a thief, the only way you can do that is if you're Scurv, so kind of exclusive to him. I gave this a 3. It's a blue block 3. I don't know when I would really want to use the ability on this. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, the effect is pretty bad. Scurv, spoiler alert, makes gold very, very easily.
Yeah. Even
so-
as Scurv, I wouldn't want to use this, I think.
I mean,
Yeah.
and you have to give it Gold Kiss Rum to give it go again, which is I give it a 3.
Yeah.
All right,
All
Portside
right.
Exchange. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, you're good.
All right, Portside Exchange. It's a 0 cost 3. It's a blue pitch. So discard a card, then draw a card. If it's a yellow card, it's discarded this way. Create a gold token. Go again. Power action. 3 block. At minimum, it's 0 block 3 with upside. Discard a card, then draw a card. It's pretty strong. You can filter your hand for things you want. You can also target the yellow card, which would be great in Gravy Bones because you get rid of the allies. In Gravy, I give it a 4, and everyone else I give it a 3.
I think even in Marlyn, I might argue that it's
Marlyn's probably strong, right?
yeah, because you can discard the harpoon. So it's essentially like draw a card, right?
Yeah.
And you still get to keep the gold because you discarded a yellow.
Yeah, I always forget about the harpoon, but you're right. I would say Marlyn and Gravy, it's definitely a 4. And then in the mech, I'd give it a 3. But I could be wrong. So
I mean,
That's fair.
I still think,
Yep.
like I said, the high end for Marlyn, I'd still say it's a 3 for Marlyn. Like, that's not that good. But yeah, Gravy, it's probably a 4. This is one of the best blues you can be running in him.
And I'll do the next 2 together. So the first one is Seafloor Salvage. Blue, block 3. Turn a card in the graveyard face down. If it's yellow, create a gold token. Go again. Probably a 3. A little bit stronger against Gravy, but overall it's fine. And then Scrub the deck is destroy the top card of target's hero's deck. If it's yellow, create a gold token. Go again. Also blue, block 3. This one I think is a little bit more universal. Probably still a 3, but arguably could be a 4, I suppose, if you're getting closer to the end of the game.
I would argue a 4 in Gravy Bones because you could target yourself.
I would argue not a 4 in Gravy Bones because I think you always want to target your opponent. Yeah, because that sounds pretty good, Will, but like milling your opponent also just sounds way better. You know?
You're a fatigue player though, so I get
I am
that.
a fatigue player. But the thing is, like, you can just sack a gold, draw and discard with Gravy, right? Like what? I don't think you need scrub the deck in that instance, but yeah, Ning, you and Will know me too well. I love this card because I love fatigue.
Yep.
Now we're talking about Shifting Tides, which is a 0 cost pirate aura, block 3. It's got go again, and at the start of your turn, pitch the top card of your deck. If it's blue, put this on the bottom of your deck. Otherwise, destroy this. Now, this is like a really powerful setup card, right? Because essentially, like, if you think of like the pitch card as an extra card. It's basically like giving you like an extra card on your next turn. Like that's really good. And if it's blue, you don't even like lose a card in that exchange. That being said, there are some weird things to it. It going to the bottom of the deck can be bad for you if you're playing Gravy Bones, because then it doesn't go to the graveyard, right? So you don't get the blue card in graveyard for the watery grave effect. That being said, yeah, this is pretty strong. I'd say maybe like a low 4, high 3 around there.
That's what I gave it.
I gave it a 4. Even with Gravy Bones, if you put it on the bottom deck, it does protect against recursion. But let's say you're playing a lot of blues, that 3 cost. If you have a lot of allies in your deck, it can use it to do the water grave mechanic, hit them on the field. So there is some upside.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. We've got Not So Fast. It's a yellow 0-cost pirate instant. It's a Scurv specialization, so only he can run it. And it says the next time an opponent would draw a card from the effect of a gold token this turn, instead you draw a card. It's very, very strong, I think. Pretty much stuffing your opponent's turn while giving you a card. And it's relevant into pretty much every hero. Gravy sometimes can sidestep it just by activating Gravy instead of drawing, but against like Marlynn, like she really wants to be breaking gold.
So 4 in Scurv, and then a 1 in everything else.
Yeah.
Less than
Sounds
1.
about right.
You
Yeah,
can't
less
even
than
play it. Cracked Bobble is better.
Yeah. So less than a 1. We found our less than a 1, fellas. All right, we're talking about Throw Caution to the Wind. It's a 0-cost blue pitch. Reveal the top card of your deck. The next time you be dealt damage this turn, prevent X of that damage, where X is the pitch value of that card revealed this way. It's instant, which kind of makes me like it, but we're thinking about the value of 2 or a 3. Honestly, I give this a 2.
Yeah, I don't really care for it. Overall.
I agree with 2.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Like even with Gravy Bones, yeah, like it you can look at the top of your deck to know the optimal time to use it, but if there's a red on top of your deck and you really need the extra block, you just kind of scrub out, basically. You just kind of cry.
I mean, the guy looks so happy, though, on the card face.
Yeah, but that's because he's looking at blues on top of his deck.
That's right. All right. Next card, Lost in Transit. It's a yellow, block 3. When this defends, you may remove a gold counter from Treasure Island. If you do, you are a thief. Create a gold token. And we'll note that it is a block card. I think with Scurv, it's probably a 4 or 5. With everybody else, kind of who cares? Just because as Scurv, you block, you get to create a gold token. Everybody's happy, or you are happy. But, as everyone else, a block 3, you can get that a lot of other places, and at that point you don't really care about removing gold counters from a Treasure Island.
It's good into overpower, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough to bump it.
Yeah.
Right.
I gave it a 3 in Scurv and 2 in everything else.
Next up, we have the Battalion Bark, which is a 4-cost 7 power with 3 block, high tide ability. So if you've got 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone, it gets +2 power. Guess what, guys? We finally got our first 5 common card. This card is really, really good. It is in red, a 9 damage card. And 4 might sound like a lot, but if you pitch a gold, you pitch a blue for a gold. So you draw a card, gain a resource from, of course, pitching a gold cost 2. And then you pitch another blue, and you swing with this. So if you have 1 gold up and know your pitch stack, you can essentially get this 9 damage with a 2-card hand, right? Like, it's very good.
Yeah.
I think all 3 colors are good too. Like, I would say yellow and blue are probably 4s for me, but I think all 3 are very, very highly valuable cards.
Yeah, I think the red Battalion Bark is definitely a 5, and then everything else is a 4. It's just so strong.
No, I agree.
Sounds good.
We could do the next 4 altogether.
Yep.
They're kind of a set.
And the difference is being what?
Yeah, the difference. So these are all of the expedition cards. They're pirated attack actions. They all block for 2, and then they just increase in cost and in power. So expedition to 0 keys is a 0 for 4. Then it's a 1 for 5, 2 for 6, and 3 for 7. and they all have the same text of when they attack, you may put a gold counter on Treasure Island. I think that the 0 cost one, 0 keys is really good, and the Horizon's Mantle, the 3 for 7 is really good. Least high on the 2 for 6, and then I think the 1 for 5 is good in Puffin.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I think 0 for 4 and the 3 for 7 are probably 3s for me, and the other 2 are probably 2s. Although the 1 for 5 could be a 3 in Puffin.
Yeah, I don't see anything that I want to see. As far as all the cards go, the 2 for 6 is just probably the worst one.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll give that a 2 and everyone else a 3. All right, we're talking about Golden Tipple. This is rainbow colored, so we got red, yellow, and blue. It's 1 cost. We're talking about the red one. When this attacks, you may discard a yellow card. If you do, draw a card and create a gold token. It has Gogan. The red is a 3 attack, 2 block. Like, honestly, I would say most of these are just a 2, right? I mean, I don't like it.
Do you want to tell him, Evan, or can I?
You think
I'll
it's good?
tell him.
I gotta
Yeah.
know. All right.
Yeah, we were talking with like Justin, and they were saying, "Wow, this card is insane."
It's the same thing. It's in Marlynn. You can discard the harpoon, and then you just draw the card, make a gold.
Yeah, so a 1 for 3, go again, draw a card, is extremely insane. So in Marlynn, it's very, very strong.
So you're saying in Marlin, the golden tipples are definitely the 4. So this should just say Marlin specialization because that's what you're playing.
Oh, but Will, think about it. The blue one is really strong in gravy, right?
Yeah.
Sure, it's
I mean,
a 1
all
for 1
three of
go
them are.
again, but you get to
strong in gravy
you get to
too.
discard
Yeah.
your thing. The blue thing activates the thing. You get to draw a card and create a gold token.
Well, I guess my thought is we were down so much on yellow cards this whole set review so far. How many yellows are you actually running to get this, this effect off? Right?
I mean,
'Cause
you're running the allies because every single ally is a yellow,
right.
and then the Goldfin Harpoon itself is a yellow. So I think
I could agree on
2 out of the
Marlin.
3 heroes really like this. I do agree that Puffin probably doesn't like it too much.
Okay. So what would
Yeah.
you guys rate it? Final score before we move on.
I would say the yellow's probably... I would agree yellow being maybe like a 2 and a 3 in like Marlin.
Mm-hmm.
I think red is probably like a 4 in Marlin. And then I think the blue is maybe like a 4 in gravy.
I'll definitely have to play around with it, but I'll keep that in mind.
I could be wrong about the blue one in gravy, but I think it's much better than you think it is.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to definitely play around with it.
So we'll go through the next 4 relatively quickly. They're kind of the same, but not. First one, Gold Hunter Light Sail. It's a yellow, block 2, attack for 4, cost of 1. When this attacks, if you control less gold than opponent, this gets go again. It's kind of situational. I don't know. I think it's a mediocre 3 for the most part, maybe a 2, just because
I think it's okay.
it's conditional. Yeah.
I think
gold-
having less gold than
Mhm.
your opponent is easier than you think it is. Because if
I guess.
if your
Mhm.
opponent swung at you, you can just let them hit you, and then with
Yeah.
Treasure Island they'll get a gold. And if you still have more gold than them, just start sacking them to draw
Just
cards.
cracking it. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it does play that effect, though, because it's 1 cost, so you pitch a blue, so you get the gold, you gain 1 resource, draw a card, and that 1 resource you gain
Mhm.
could go to the Gold Hunter line, so...
Yeah, makes sense. So I think overall, 3, 4, you can figure it out.
Is probably it, even though I think it's better than you might think.
Sure. Next one, Gold Hunter. So all of these Gold Hunters are yellow. This one costs 0, hits for 3, and if you control less, then it gets +2. I guess for the reason that we mentioned before, I don't know, it's a yellow, 0 for 5, under the right circumstance, I suppose. Maybe still a high 3, depending, maybe.
I love it when I change your mind and then immediately change it back again.
Yeah.
I think these 3 cards are better than people think they are. That being said, I do think they're still kind of filler-ish, right? Like they are 2 block.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would argue that I think all 4 of them are either low 3s or high 2s.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Go Again one's probably my favorite, and then I think the 7 is probably my next favorite.
I gotta be honest with you, man. All these cards do not scream to me like I would play them if I had a choice, right? Because if you crack
Yeah.
8 packs to build your 30-card deck, and you're trying to fit in your Gold Hunter, light cells, longboats, marauders, or catches, then I feel like there's nothing here that the other cards can't give you that's just better. So I would honestly give these a 2, personally.
I can agree with 2. I think they're a bit higher than people think they are, but yeah, 2's fine. Anyway, next up we got the Swiftwater Sloop, which is a 2-cost 6, 2-block. High Tide, if there are 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone, then this gets Go Again. Little worse than the last High Tide cards we've seen, just because this one's actually a 2-block. That being said, a 2 for 6 is quite powerful, and getting 2 blues into the pitch zone, once again, is not that hard. You just sack a gold, and then you're there. That being said, it's okay. I think it's like high 3 for me.
I think I would like to play around with these cards because they're a rainbow set, but maybe like with Gravy Bones, he might have some play with this because he likes to go again on these higher power attacks. He does want to pitch blue, so.
All right. Next we have Rainbow Swindler's Grift. It's a 2-cost, 6 attack, 2-block. When this attacks, you may discard a yellow card. If you do, draw a card and create a gold token. I'm not super high on this at all. It's a 2 for 6 that blocks 2, and I feel like the ability is like maybe okay in Gravy if you're doing it on ally, but a lot of decks, I don't know. I don't really see why you would just hold a yellow.
Yeah, the tipple was good because like the Go Again was great. Like being able to draw a card and then like put an ally in your graveyard and also still having an action point was a big deal. This one's a lot worse, so I agree with a 2 across the board.
All right, we're talking about Thieving Varmints. It's a red pitch, 0 cost. When this attacks, you may remove a gold counter from Treasure Island. If you do, and you are a thief, create a gold token. It's a 4 attack, 3 block. Honestly, I give it a 4, only because it's a 0 cost, 4 attack that 3 blocks. I mean, it has some upside, but who cares? It's a 0 for 4, so I give it a 4.
I mean, I would argue 0 for 4, 3 blocks is a 3.
Okay, so you're saying that's the bare minimum, even though the actual value of a card is 1 card, 3, and this is above value?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say like Wounding Blow, which is basically what this is a mid card, right? Like I'm happy to see it, but I'm not like that happy about it.
So were you saying Scurv this would be a 4, or
with Scurv, I think this would be a. I think with Scurv this would be a 5, right? Just because when you.
I mean,
attack,
in Scurv it might be like a 4.
Gold.
Like, yeah, like you get the gold, but as I said, Scurv I think doesn't have many issues getting gold. So yeah, this is one of the stronger cards. So I would definitely say a 4 for Scurv, a 3 for everybody else.
Okay,
makes sense. Rainbow Charter Course. They all cost 0, block 2. The red one, your first attack this turn gets +3 attack. You may put a gold counter on Treasure Island. Yellow says the second attack, and the blue says the third attack. I would assume the blue is harder to make work for a third attack, so that probably ranks down to a 2. Yellow is probably a 3, and then red is somewhere between a strong 3 to a low 4.
Yeah.
Just because it has +3 on it.
Yeah, I would argue red's probably a 4. It kind of goes along the lines of what I say with ranger buffs, right?
Yeah.
It's a 0 for 3 for +3. Yellow, I do not like very much. I think yellow's pretty hard to get right. Like on occasion you can get it, but you can't you can never freaking line it up. Like you have to line it up properly.
Yeah.
So
I feel like with Puffin, it's probably a little easier to make it work.
With Puffin, maybe it's a 3, but I think everybody else it's probably like a 2. And then the blue is. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, Evan. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the blue is like you're basically never getting this. Let's be real. Though you can still play it for Gravy's effect.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a 2 though. It's kind of fillerish, but Gravy's still happy to have it.
Yeah, I would say red chart the course is the one you want to go for. That's definitely the 4, and then the rest are 2s.
Yeah.
I think we can do the next three together as well.
Yeah, the next three, Mutiny, I'm not going to say the names. Mutiny on the Battalion Bark. I lied, I did say the name. And then there are two other mutinies. This one is on the Nimbus Sovereign, and this is on the Swiftwater Cliff. So each of them has, for each hero that controls more gold than you, steal a gold token they control. And if you gained control of one or more gold tokens this way, your next attack this turn gets +2, go again, or overpower. I think once again, based on what I said from the yellow cards before, having less gold than your opponent is actually surprisingly easy, right? Like, you should not really ever be worried about, like, having more gold than your opponent, right? Because you can, like, manipulate it so that you have less. That being said, I think the go again one and the overpower one are just kind of mid. They're kind of okay. Blocking 2 kind of does suck for them. The +2 one, however, is very strong.
Yeah.
A 0 for +2 that gains you a gold with go again, like that is a very, very powerful effect. So I would argue that this mutiny on the Battalion Bark is a 4. And the other two, maybe like 2s, like high 2s in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Makes sense.
Yep. I really like the Battalion one.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're moving on to generics. All right, we got a banger to start off. The Bandana of the Blue Beyond. It's a generic head, block 0, action, discard a card, destroy this, put a blue card from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck, go again. This is a 1. I think it's terrible.
It's a 5, baby.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It's less bad than Trevor is saying. That being said, I don't think it's a 1. I think it's a 2. If this is your only headpiece you opened, it sucks to be you, but you still run it. There's still application.
I mean,
that being said, sucks to be you, brother.
Hellman's Peak. This is when this defends. Look at the top card of your deck. It's a Blade Break, 1 cost. I mean, the same thing as the other ones. If you see this and you have no other head equipment to pull, play it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with some effects where it's like, oh, discard top card or reveal top card, it's probably mildly meaningful. But yeah, probably just
yeah, with Rebel effects,
Not
it's
2,
not
3.
bad, but not enough where I would say
No.
it's any more than like a 3.
Yeah, take it over something else. Yeah. I agree. Captain's Coat, action, destroy this, gain 1 resource, activate this only if you've drawn a card this turn, go again. I don't know. It seems not good in comparison to everything else that we've seen thus far, right? It's conditional resource, it blocks for nothing, and you can only do it once you've drawn a card. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a 2. And now we get to Old Knockers. Am I right? So yeah, this is better than the Captain's Code, because it's got Blade Break 1, and as an instant you can tap your hero, destroy this, gain a resource. So you only get either the 1 block or the resource, and you do have to tap your hero, meaning you can't use your hero's other ability, which is kind of unfortunate, but gaining a resource is really strong, like unconditionally, like just on your equipment. So yeah, I like this a lot. Still just like a 3 though.
Yeah.
We've got the Swift Strike Bracers. These are generic equipment for arms. They block 0. Action, destroy this. Your next attack this turn gets +2. Activate this only if you played a Nimblism this turn. Go again.
Nimblism's back.
Yeah.
Nice.
We could talk about Nimblism now, I guess, too. But it's just a 0 cost non-attack action that blocks 2, and it gives your next attack that cost 1 or less. +3 at red, and then there's a yellow and blue that do +2 and +1. And they're in this set. I think these equipment, they're very strong if you have Nimblism. If you don't, they don't do anything. So it's either like a 1 or a 4.
Sounds good.
All right, we're talking about Light Fingers. This is when this defends. If you're a thief, steal a gold token from the Tekken hero, controls. A gold token the Tekken hero controls. Blade Break. It's a 1 defense. I don't know what to tell you guys. Light Fingers, I would pass it by. I'd rather go Bare Fingers than play Light Fingers. I give it a 2.
I mean, it blocks for 1.
Yeah,
with Blade Break.
for me.
Which is
So
why I
it's a
give it
3,
above a
yeah.
correct pile. You gave it a 3?
I mean, you're just happy. Like, if you have equipment like that blocks, like that's really nice.
It
And yeah,
blocks.
you're right. This is like the worst of the blocking arm pieces, but like,
well, I guess if you're playing in a regular tournament that has you have to open your cards to play them, and you have no other arms equipment, then you're playing light fingers. But if you're playing the pre-release, you're going to have a better armor equipment for the arm slot just from opening the promo pack. Play
yeah,
that.
you're right.
So
Yeah, pre-releases this never sees play, but
yeah, I agree.
All right, quartermaster's boots. It is a block 1 legs piece action 2 resource. Destroy this. The next non-attack action card you play this turn gets go again, and then it gets go again. I don't know. I think it's fine. It blocks 1. It's great.
Yep.
I don't think there's too many non-attack action cards out there that you care for to play in succession. So
I mean, to note, you can
Maybe
use
you can make
allies.
it-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would have been
No,
better
I suppose that's true.
if
That's
it was a
true.
0 cost or a 1 cost, maybe, but 2 cost is kind of expensive.
All right. Next up, we have quick clicks action. You destroy this. Your next attack this turn gains go again. Activate only if you've played a nimblism this turn with go again. I think this is much worse than the arms that give +2. Sometimes, like, it does not line up. Like, you have nimblism and you have 1 attack, you do not have 2. So I could see this like getting no value at all, right? That being said, like, go again's quite strong, and getting it for free off your boots is pretty good. So it's probably, I don't know, like a 2.
I agree with that, man. I mean, honestly, they're all kind of weak at this point, so 2 would be better than nothing. I mean, you could intimidate your opponent by just going naked and saying, what do you got, bruh?
All right. We're moving on to generic majestics. We have Sea Legs. It's a yellow 3 cost, 6 attack that blocks 3. When this is discarded, create a Gold Kiss Rum token. I gave it a 4. I think like if you saw it early enough, you could build around it. There's a lot of draw discards, and then making a Gold Kiss Rum is really, really strong.
Yeah, we're case of blocks for 3.
Yeah,
that as well.
I think it's like probably a 3 in most decks. I think it's probably a 4 in Gravy, because the Gravy has an easy way to draw and discard. But
That's fair.
yeah.
I think outside of Gravy, it's kind of mid.
That's what I got with Evan. I mean, it's a yellow card I actually want to play. So, and maybe it's because I'm brute favored and it's a generic action attack. So,
Yeah, Gold Kiss Rum can give Scabskins go again.
yeah,
Let's
man.
go.
Midas
Anyway.
10
Touch.
more action points.
Midas Touch. This is a yellow pitch, 1 cost. Destroy Tiger ally. A controller creates gold tokens equal to its cost. It has go again. It's a 3 block. Against Gravy, I would give it a 3. Against everyone else, it's just a cracked bobble. Well, actually, it's better than
Against
it's blocks for
Scurv,
3, so I'll give
it's-
it a 2. And everyone else. Against Gravy, it's definitely a sideboard card you want to keep around. If you're playing against Gravy, fit it in because it's going to really hurt them. But for everything else, it's a 2.
I think against Scurv, it's probably a 3 or a 4.
Yeah.
Because you can kill the little octopus even when it's not
Oh.
summoned yet. And then
Really
it has
interesting.
no cost, so they get 0 gold left out of it.
Yeah.
But that's literally the only target, right? Like, if
Yeah.
they
Well,
swing
that's
with
why
the
you just
octopus,
have it.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a sideboard card. If you see Scurv or Gravy Bones, you want to
Probably
throw
a
it in.
3. Yeah. Absolutely. Sure.
All right. What do you guys
Alright,
want to do the next
so
2,
there's a lot of-
4, 6, 8,
It's
9 cards?
It's a lot of amulets. These are effectively just majestic legendary one-ofs in each deck for all the potions that exist. They're fine. They do things.
How about
know
you
what they
pick
do.
your favorite one? How about we all pick our favorite one real quick, just so we can speed through the necklaces. All right, Ning, do you have a favorite one so far?
I mean, not really. I don't even know.
I think a big thing about all of them,
okay.
they block for nothing, which is
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
And when you play them, your
Yeah.
action point is gone unless you play them from your graveyard, right?
Yeah.
Another issue is with the watery grave. I guess that might just be a rules question. Like, if you sack this, did a blue enter your graveyard?
Did, yeah.
It does? Okay.
It does.
Then if that's the case, it's slightly better for Gravy Bones.
Yeah.
Since you can play them from grave, and then you can have an onboard way to get a blue into your graveyard. So the effects don't really matter too much because, and do note, because they have Watery Grave, you can play them with Go Again from your graveyard, which is also quite good.
That's if
That being
you
said,
Gravy Bones.
Yeah, if you're Gravy Bones.
Yeah,
That being
that's-
said, I think
yeah.
like the Intellect one's probably my favorite for limited. There's one that gives you +1 Intellect.
Yeah.
I guess
It's pretty
the
strong.
+2 Strength one is okay. Gain 2 life it's okay, I guess. 2 resources
Yeah,
might be
depending
alright.
on context, action points would be fun.
I personally think they're all 2s, and then in Gravy they become like low 3s, maybe mid 3s. Yeah.
I think at minimum they might be, well, depending on the ones you get, I think they might be minimum of 3s, low 3s. If you have the space and you need the pitch 3, go ahead and include it. But I don't think this is something you really want to force into your deck, other than some of the choicier ones, like you said, Evan. The Sapphire Amulet that gives you +1 intellect is
I realize
fantastic.
this doesn't even have Go Again, so maybe
It
this
does
is
not.
even lower than I thought.
It's a turn
You
ender.
give them all
right?
ones.
You get them all once? They
Yeah,
gotta
I
be at
think
least
they're
2s,
terrible.
man. You think they're worse than cracked baubles? I mean, at least they pitch for 3.
I think like if you need the blue pitch cards, then you run them. But if you're playing sealed, you have better blues.
Yeah,
Like straight
I agree
up.
with
Like
that.
in draft, you might not, but yeah, I think they're pretty bad.
I
would
think
go-
they're 2s.
I would go 2 and maybe 3 for Gravy Bones.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you don't want to see them, and if you're fitting them, and it's because you made a mistake somewhere, or you just were unlucky and cracked the 8 packs and you didn't have enough to fill in your deck.
So next up, we got Crash Down the Gates, which is a 3-cost, 6-power, 2-block. When it attacks a hero, they reveal the top card of the deck, and if this has greater power than the revealed card, this gets +2 power. And on hit, destroy the top card of their deck. This is just really good, right? Like, this is a 3 for 8 in red. That destroys the top card of the deck, which we've talked about is a very strong effect. So I'm honestly tempted to give the red one a 5.
Really?
2-block makes
That's-
me
That's
worried.
interesting.
It might be a 4, but I think it is very strong.
It's conditional, right? If they reveal like a non-attack action, then it just doesn't get the +2 at all, right?
No, it does. It's kind of like Clashing.
It does.
Like, if this has greater power than the
Oh.
revealed card, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's better than I thought. Then.
Yeah.
So this is one of those rare circumstances where I gave the red and yellow a 4 and the blue a 3.
I think
Right.
even the blue is
I
okay.
don't know about.
Only because of the breakpoint. Think
I mean,
about this.
at best, that's cost 3 to hit for 6, though.
Yeah, but to destroy the top card of the deck because of a 7 is pretty good. So
Like, even the blue one's good, because, like,
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
when you play the blue one, it's because you've already hit your pitch stack, right? Like, you're pitching it early game, and then late game, you swing with it. And even though 4 is not very big, if your opponent is just, like, their entire deck is blues, like, 4 will beat most blues, you know?
that's true.
So, I don't know. You know what? I'll say 5 for the red, and then I'll say
Interesting.
4 for the yellow and blue.
I'm thinking 4 and 3 and 3.
Okay.
All right,
I don't know.
we can do the next 2 cards probably. We got Jack Be Nimble and Jack Be Quick.
Love the names.
They're both red, 0 cost. They block 3, attack for 3, and then they both have the text. When this attacks, you may banish a Nimbleism from your graveyard. If you do, it gets +1 and go again. Then where they differ is Jack Be Nimble says when this hits a hero, Will changed it.
I'm sorry.
When this hits a hero, steal an item they control until the end of the action phase. And then the other one is when it hits a hero, you steal and untap a ally. And then you can swing with it until the end of the action phase. Then you return it. If you have the Nimbleism, they're very strong, I think. But if you don't, they're pretty bad.
Do you
So
guys
maybe
include the Nimbleisms in your steel deck? If you
Kinda
if
depends.
you
I mean, I
crack them,
think there's a whole archetype for it, right? It seems like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that go with Nimbleism. So if you open up a lot of Nimbleism stuff, then you're going to have a Nimbleism deck, but otherwise, play normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I actually
I
don't
gave
know
them
how
that.
to quite evaluate these because on the surface it's 0 for 3, so it's on value. But if you have the Nimbleism,
I mean, if you're not going to play this if you don't have Nimbleism in your deck, and
Right.
at some
Yeah.
point you should have already played it, right? So then this is a 0 for 4 go again in the context that you've created a Nimbleism deck.
I agree.
And it
Yeah.
has hit effects. Yeah.
Like, yeah, without it, it's like a 2, and with it, it's like a 4, basically.
Yeah,
That's what I have.
that's why I
Yeah.
had Evan. Money or your life? It's a it's a 3-cost red pitch. When this hits a hero, deal 2 damage to them unless they give you a gold token they control. If you are a thief, repeat this process once. I gave this a 3. In Scurv, it might be a high 3, but I still think it's a 3.
I think in Scurv, it's probably like a 4. Like, Scurv already steals a lot of gold, so
I
your opponent
guess
might not have gold.
you're right, because it's really a 1-4-8. If you think about it, you pitch the card to play this, and if it hits a hero, you deal 8 damage to them if you're Scurv. So I would say in Scurv it's a 4.
Yeah. That being said, in like regular heroes, this is pretty mid.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan. I think it's like 2, maybe low 3.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the yellow is like 100% a 2, and then the blue is also a 2. Spoilers.
Yeah.
All right. The next is a rainbow set of flying high. They all block for 2s, cost 0, and says your next attack this turn gets go again. Depending on the color, it says the corresponding color gets +1. I don't know. I feel like this is probably 3 overall. It just depends on the makeup of your deck, I suppose. But a 0-4, a 0 cost card that gives your like Palantir go again seems like a fun time. But I don't know.
I think
If
the
it
red
would
and
be
yellows
more
are
than a high 4
pretty low impact.
or high
Is
3.
kind
Yeah.
of the issue, right? Like, I think the blue
Yeah.
is definitely like a 3 because it's like a blue card. Even though it blocks 2, it's very powerful, so I like it.
It gives you go again. Yeah.
Yeah. Reds.
Because at the end of the day, you don't need the +1. The effect
Yeah,
itself
that's
is
true.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the red and yellow, they're okay. Maybe like a 2.
Yeah, I gave these all the Rainbow Suite a 2. I think in CC it's going to have higher value if you play around it, but I think in sealed it's definitely a 2.
Trevor's like, it's not going to be better than Trot Along.
That one blocks 3.
But in Brew it's fantastic because it's like on hit agility.
Mm.
Anyways, but besides the point.
Lol. Next up, we got Clapham and Irons, a 0 cost blue item. Go again. When this enters the arena, tap target pirate, hero, or ally. It can't untap while this is in the arena, and at the start of your turn, you destroy this. So basically,
Interesting.
you play this, you tap something down for a turn, and then at the start of your next turn, it goes away. It's okay. It's like a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blue no block, so this one has go again, which is okay, but it doesn't go into your graveyard immediately for gravy, so he's not that happy about it, but yeah.
I gave it a 1. I'm not high on it at all.
I mean, the only reason why I gave it above a 1 is because at least it pitches for 3. But yeah, I would avoid this.
Listen, Trevor, you play Mechanologist. You need to give blue no blocks more credit, man.
Cerebellum's the worst card
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Cerebellum
I think
sucks, says
Cerebellum's a little
Trevor.
bit better. We got Regain Composure. It's a blue, 0 cost, non-attack action. Blocks 2. Your next attack this turn gets +1, and when it hits, untap your hero. Go again. I give it a 2. I think it's like another thing for gravy that can turn them on, but it's not that great. It's just a blue block 2.
I gave it a 3 in Marlyn. Or not Marlyn, the mech, Puffin. All right.
But then, why is that?
Because
Because of
the untap ability, so you could probably tap her twice to draw the card if you have everything lined up. So 3 in bare basics.
I don't know. I feel
But maybe
like
I'm reaching
this
too
would
hard on
be-
that. So
I feel
like
like
an
this would be
on-hit.
better if it was an attack reaction. If
I
you
guess it's
could
true.
like sneak it in afterwards, then it's good. But otherwise, people are just like, "Oh, all right, I can."
But-
Yeah.
along
prevent this
her,
from-
a lot of her ships attack for 6, 5, 4. So the +1 isn't unrelevant. So I mean, that's my thought. Evan, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm biased because spoiler
It's a
alert,
2 though,
in my gravy deck I just drafted, this was in my deck. So it's good in gravy just because it's a 0 go again blue, which gravy definitely likes, and it actually has a relevant text, but it's not that good. It definitely is just like a 2.
Okay.
Ooh, that.
Ning, why don't you take this?
Anyway, sure. It's a tit for tat. Blue, cost 0, blocks for 2. tap a target hero, untap another target hero, go again. I assume it's kind of similar to what we're saying. Yeah, with regain composure. It's not doesn't
Yeah.
seem all that great. Yeah.
Same
mean, I
thing,
don't
Gravy
know.
likes it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know why they call it tit for tat. They should call it tit for ass.
dang.
So true. So
You
true.
gotta stop, bro.
All right. I'll stop Will by fiddling around, baby. It's Fiddler's Green.
Oh,
Reminds me of
So
my
this is
uncle.
Like,
Will stop.
we're so close, bro. You gotta lock in for 30 cards, man.
I'll write this down. I'll write that down. I'll take that
All
out.
right. So this is Fiddler's Green, a generic block. One block comes in red, yellow, and blue. Whenever it's put into your graveyard from anywhere, gain 3 life. Yellow gains 2, blue gains 1. I think the red one is quite good, just because it's essentially like 4 value. And if you discard it to something like, let's say, Gravy Bones or Rally the Coast Guard, a card we haven't seen yet, you get quite a lot of value out of it. So I like the red. I do think it's like maybe like a low 4. Yellow and blue I like a lot less. So I think those are both like 2s.
Yeah.
I agree.
That
So
feels
let me
correct.
ask you a question about this. If you block with it and the block clears and you put it in the graveyard, you still gain 3 life, correct?
You
Mhm.
do, yes.
All right.
That's part of the reason why I like the red.
Yeah.
Guys, guess what? We found the correct bauble.
Yep. We got
It's actually slightly better than the cracked bauble, but
Keyword slightly.
yeah. Fool's Gold. When this is, it's a generic resource, so it has no block, no attack. When this is discarded, create a gold token. It's 1. I don't like it at all.
I sure agree.
you'd be
You
foolish
really
to play
want your
this.
resource cards to be blue
Yeah.
and also block.
I mean, I guess it's better than a cracked bauble slightly. If you happen to have to run this and you do discard like with Gravy Bones, it might be better. But dude, if you're at that point, you're playing for fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Run it
More
over a
fun.
cracked bauble, but like basically nothing else.
Blow for a blow. This is a red card. You could pay 2 to play it. When this is played, if you have less
Health.
life, thank you, less life than opposing hero, it gets go again. When this hits, deal 1 damage to target hero. Do any target. That was a little rough, guys. But it's a 4 attack, 2 block, generic action attack.
It's okay.
Yeah.
There are interesting things you can do. Like if Gravy Bones is at 1, you kill one of their allies and ping them for 1, which is pretty funny. That being
give it a
said, I
2.
think, yeah, this is definitely a 2. Like if you need go again attacks, because they're pretty important, it's the worst one.
Yeah.
Life for life. It's a 1 for 4. Blocks 2. When this is played, if you have less health than the opposing hero, it gets go again. When this hits, gain 1 life. I think it's better than blow for a blow, at least. You know? Probably still 2-3-ish.
I'd probably
you-
say a 3. Life for
Yeah.
life's pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say it's 3.
Yeah.
Scar for a Scar,
Wow.
baby. One of my
How
all-time
classic.
faves.
accurate is it that this fell onto your turn to explain the card, Evan, since you love Scar for a Scar so much?
I do love Scar for a Scar, so
That was
it
planned.
was fate, baby. So this is 0 cost, red, 4 power, 2 block. When it's played and you have less life than the opposing hero, it gets go again. So it's basically like the other 2 cards, except it doesn't have an additional effect, and in turn it costs 0 instead of 1 and 2. Not having to pitch for 0 for 4 go again is insane. This is definitely like a 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
We've got Ravenous Rabble. It's a classic. It's only in red in the set. It's a 0 cost, 5 attack, 2 block. When this attacks, you reveal a top card. It gets -X, where X is the pitch value of the card revealed this way. Go again. I think it's solid. I gave it a 4.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things in this deck format that let you look at the top of your deck, so you can usually get it to be at the 4 most of the time.
yeah.
Guaranteed.
Even if you swing for like 3 with it, it's still good. So
Yeah.
we love
And-
Rabble.
Yeah.
I mean, because it has go again, it's really good. There's a lot of blue pitch in this deck, so I don't know if it's as valued as other expansions, but it's Ravenous Rabble. It's a classic. All right, let's talk about Trevor's favorite new card,
Mm-hmm.
NIMBY.
NIMBY.
Let's first off take a second to look at this guy and just bask in his majesticness.
Pretty
This
good.
is this is a rainbow card. It's red, yellow, and blue. It's 0 cost. I want to talk about the red. When this attacks, you may search your deck for a nimblism, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It's a 3 attack. It's 2 block. Does not have go again. This is a hard one because if you have ways to give it go again, it's actually pretty decent. If you don't have ways to give it a go, it's not good. If it's the last card you play in your game, you can put Nimblism in your arsenal and actually set up for the next turn. I give it a 3. But I am curious to what you guys think about this card.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's like at its height. I think it's a 3, right?
Yeah.
Which is you have red nimblism. You search for red nimblism with it. I do think yellow and blue are 2s. Do note
Yeah.
it is better in Scurv because he has Gold Kiss Rum, so you can give it go again pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I gave it
Uh,
because there's a lot of nimblism synergy, and if you have that and it helps you tutor for it, it turns on your equipment, which I think is really strong.
Yeah,
I
but
am curious
spoilers,
too.
guys. Trevor is biased.
Yeah, and I'm biased.
He loves NIMBY, right? Which is fine. He'll be a NIMBY main when it comes out. I am
Yep.
curious to how this will impact CC. I don't see Nimblism a lot, but again, we're talking about sealed. That should be
It won't.
interesting. So, won't impact it at all.
Oh, I mean,
Wow.
Bolton mains are eaten night.
Actually,
Mm.
yeah, I forgot
Oh,
about
probably.
And by
Yeah.
eating good, I mean eating, a slightly watered down soup than
them.
compared to just seawater.
Hey, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Shout
Okay,
out
so
to
the next
Chris Martin,
card we
baby.
have is a Rainbow Rally the Coast Guard. It is a bigger version of Rally the
Rear guard.
Rear Guard. So it's cost 3, hits for 7 as the red, blocks 2, once per turn instant, discard a card, just gets +3. And you can only do that if it's defending. So kind of what Evan was talking about earlier. You can use this card specifically to block against something and then discard the Fiddler's Green to get +3 life on top of that for a total of +6 value off of one card, which seems pretty good. Worst case scenario, you just swing, 3 for 7. Not the worst. I think this is probably a good 3, maybe a 4 if you have Fiddler stuff to make synergies work. But overall, just 3.
Friendship ended with the rear. The coast is now my best friend.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty good. I think the defensive effect is quite strong in this set, especially for like gravy bones, for instance. But also just like if you have a hand of 2 blocks, like now one of them is a 3 block. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I do think I would argue the red is probably a 4 for me, just because it swings well, it blocks well. I like it overall. Blue I would probably say is 3, and then yellow is probably a 2.
Yeah, I do like how the red fixes a lot of the issues that the no blocks will provide. Like you discard an ally card, which works for gravy, like you were saying, and then gets up +3. So it's above rate when that happens, and you further your game plan. So it's not bad.
Next up, we got Sirens of Safe Harbor. It's a 2 for 6, 2 block, and when it is put into your graveyard from anywhere, gain 1 life. This is really insane because this is essentially a 2 for 7, 3 block, right? Because if you block with it, once it goes to the graveyard, it'll gain you a life. So 2 block plus the 1 life, that's 3 value. You swing for 6, when it goes to the graveyard, you will also gain the life. So red 2 for 7s. We've never had a just unconditional 2 for 7 before in generic. So this is really strong. I think the red one is like a 4. I think the blue one is I think the blue and yellow are probably, to be honest, like 2s. I could see like blue maybe being a 3. It's kind of a 3 block. Blue block 3.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think in CC, especially for Verdance, this is going to really, be good. But I think above rate, it's for sealed is fantastic.
All right. Next, we got a Strike Cold, another generic attack action. It's in red. It costs 0 attacks for 4, blocks 2. When this hits, create a gold token. I think this version is very strong. On hit's pretty relevant, and then other ones I'm not too high on. I'd probably give them 3s,
Yeah.
but maybe a 4 for the red or a low. Or
I'm
high
lower
3.
on it than you are.
I
think
feel
once
like
again, because like Treasure Island's a thing.
Mhm.
Like you like the gold, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't rate it like super duper highly.
Mhm.
I kind of give the red a 3 and the others 2.
That's why I gave it. We're talking about a classic that's returning, trade-in. This is a rainbow set in this high seas. It's 0 cost, and when this attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. This is played from Arsenal. It gets go again. The red is 3, the yellow is 2, the blue is 1 attack power. It all blocks for 2. It's a This is tough, man. I think it's a 3, and I think in certain decks it actually is beneficial. Like in Gravy Bones, you want to discard the card, and if you do, you get to draw the card. You definitely want to put it in Arsenal, so you get the full benefits and you get to go again, which is very important for the red. So I would say red is probably a high 3, yellow and blue is probably a low 3, if not a 2.
I kind of agree with that. I think like this card is way better than it might at first look. Once again, because Marlin, you discard harpoons, Gravy, you discard allies, but
Yeah.
not having go again unless you arsenal it. That's not ideal. So I don't know. I do see red as like super high 3, and then like the other 2 as like maybe 2s. Like though pretty high 2s.
Sounds good.
all right, walk the plank. It's a cost. It's a 3 for 7. Block 2. It is a rainbow. When this hits a pirate hero, tap them or an ally they control. I don't know.
I like this one a
I
lot.
suppose yeah.
I think like that is a relevant on hit that people don't want.
Mm-hmm.
I think the red's a 4.
Yeah.
Really, you
I
think
guess
the red's a
everybody's
4?
running the
Yeah, I think it's really strong. Because like they have to
Interesting.
block that, right? Like a lot of heroes, like they want their ability. Like this is one of the few like negative on hits in the set, and 3 for 7 is just like a good rate.
I mean, I like
I
it
agree.
that it's above
I
the
think it's
break point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the other big thing is against Gravy, right? It's not that you make Gravy tap. You have the option to tap like the Humperdinger or whatever, right? If they were like planning on doing something big with them, and you're like, all right, well, I'll just tap your guy, so it doesn't even matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or they have to block it out. Either way, they're losing their turn.
And Ning, since you read this card, does the tentacles that appear on the background make you feel any certain way?
Just we just
Oh,
we
hey,
just,
look, it's Nimblism.
just gotta go. Wow.
So yeah, this was what the card Trevor was alluding to with his
Yeah.
favorite card, Nimby.
Do you
Nimblism-
want to read it again, or are we good that
We don't have to read it again,
Okay.
but
I think we're
Nimblism's pretty good. It's kind of like if you have synergy, it's all right. Kind of like
Yeah.
a 3. Oh,
There goes Trevor.
He was tired of my jokes. It's fine. Oh, he
Trevor,
came
we
back. He
missed
came back. He's a glutton for punishment.
all right. So yeah, Nimblism. I don't know, kind of like a 3. It's very conditional. It's like it can be as high as like 4 or 5. It can be as low as like a 2. But
Yeah.
look
Yeah,
at your synergy
depends on your deck.
basically.
Last
The
card
last card.
on the horizon.
Almost. And then we'll talk about the. I mean, I guess we don't have to talk about the tokens.
No.
We've already talked about like
Yeah,
most
Yeah,
of the
we've
we've been
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about the
yeah.
tokens the whole time. This is on the horizon.
On the
It's a generic
horizon.
block.
It's a red cost. It's rainbow, so it's red, yellow, and blue. It is no cost. It's a generic block. When this defends, look at the top card of your deck. And the red blocks for 4, the yellow blocks for 3, the blue blocks for 2. Honestly, it's a generic block. What can you say about it? It's a 3 for the red, and I would say it's a 2 for the yellow and the blue.
No, the red is a 4.
I would say 4. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, I have been
Yeah, so
drinking
this
a little
is really
bit of,
good.
stuff. Okay, so let's say the red is 4 and the yellow and blue is a 2. That's my final answer. Go ahead.
I agree
We
with
did
that.
it.
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Enjoy your 4 blocks, and we will enjoy going to sleep, fellas.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, comment down below.
I gotta
about,
have lunch.
I gotta have dinner actually. But
Damn.
Yeah.
and comment down below how that pre-release went and how much help we all were. If Nimby lost you the game, definitely tell Trevor.
Skill issue, honestly.
Skill
Oh,
issue.
no.
And
No.
yeah, we are probably gonna be doing pre-releases ourselves. So we will definitely let you know in the next podcast. Any last words from you fellas?
Nope.
All right. So, and there you have it,
Just
Beatties.
You're gonna live vicariously.
Trevor, did you have any last words before I finish this off?
Nope.
You want to talk for another like 2 hours about On the Horizon?
I think we're officially done. We covered the whole damn set in the limited format. It's our first time doing this as Tunic Counter Gamers. I'm very happy with it. Thank you for everyone that stayed here for 4 hours, which is amazing. The Seals of Sealed can be stormy, but with the right prep and a keen eye for synergy, you'll chart the course straight to victory. Whether you're swinging cutlasses or cracking cold packs, remember, treasure favors the bold. We're going to end it here, and I don't even remember our Tunic Counter Gamers sign off, but I think it's something like, remember the turn?
Remember your damn tunic counter.
Yeah,
Look, just remember your
look, guys.
Tunic.
You got a
Remember the
Tunic.
Tunic counter.
Click that shit to 3. Cast it. Don't forget it. That's it. Peace.
Sounds good.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.